This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Many, Mickey, Fishy!
You are listening to the Voices of Wrestling podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
X out and go listen to some boring podcast where they're afraid of their own shadow. Okay? Don't listen to Joe Lanza, because Joe Lanza's not changing.
And Rich Craich.
I like him. Who delivers this guy in a big spot?
Joe, don't yell at me. I like him.
In the big spot, who delivers better than this guy?
Stop yelling at me. I agree.
And we are live. Welcome once again to the Voices of Wrestling Flagship podcast. I'm Rich Craich, alongside, as always, King of Banter, Mr. Joe Lanza. Joe, what's up?
How are you?
I'm doing well. Okay, so I had a question for you. I was recently perusing my local Target, and I found myself in the frozen pizza slash appetizers slash whatever aisle that the Hot Pockets live. And I wanted to compare and contrast, because you are nothing if not the expert on Hot Pockets. I think we could safely say that. The internet's expert on Hot Pockets. I think we now get people that will be at Target, they'll tweet you, and they'll say, hey, look at the Hot Pockets. Paige was talking about Hot Pockets the other day, and people said, hey, Joe, like, Paige is talking about Hot Pockets. Like, now it's just because half of our mentions are just Hot Pockets references, which I don't mind. It's not bad. It's actually a pretty cool thing that's occurred. But I was going down my aisle, and I wanted to compare and contrast my Hot Pocket aisle to yours, because I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I swore you sent a picture a few days ago, maybe a few weeks ago, actually, where you went to the Hot Pocket aisle at your local grocery store, and that thing was like entirely picked over. There was like nothing left. Is that correct?
It is the last food item in my supermarket that you still cannot purchase. Like, first it was toilet paper, then it was bread. In some places it was milk. In my store, everything is now available with the exception of the Hot Pockets. The only Hot Pockets left are those awful ones we did the live review for on the show. People will not buy those.
The big and bolds, correct?
They will not buy the big and bolds.
Yes.
I have the photographic evidence to prove it on our Twitter page, like 3 weeks in a row. Nothing there but the big and bolds. But the rest of the Hot Pockets, that is correct, is the one item that I cannot purchase in my town. Now,
are you sure? Now, I know you don't know this, but I don't know if you've maybe talked to somebody in the inner workings of your grocery. Are they not getting delivered, or are they getting delivered and just immediately scooped up right away?
Don't know the answer to that.
Because you've gone different times, right? You don't, or do you always go on, like, I always go on Thursdays at blah or whatever, or is this like a completely random occurrence at this point?
Now I go between Friday and Sunday at various times. One of those 3 days. But they just haven't had Hot Pockets since the thing started.
Interesting.
So I don't know what it is about Hot Pockets. There was a while there where there was no ramen. People were buying up all the ramen.
Yeah, but that's actually at my place. The ramen is completely gone. That's at my Target, and I shop at a few different grocery stores or whatever. But pretty much the 100% every grocery store I've went to, ramen is gone, like completely gone. Not even a cup, not even a bag, not even a drop of a flavor packet. Nothing. That shit is completely gone.
Yeah, we eventually got the ramen back. We've got everything back. I could get anything in my store now. All brands. It's not even like, for a while there, maybe you had just, limited options in terms of brands on some things. But now we can get everything with the exception of Hot Pockets.
It's an amazing phenomenon, because I went to my Hot Pocket aisle, and it was picked over in the sense that, like, there were slim pickings, plenty of big and bold buffalo chickens. They were, how, like, whatever, the freezer, it goes back, I don't know, like 10 deep or whatever, like literally all 10 of the big and bolds. It's not even like, half of the big and bolds were gone. Like, literally they stocked the 10, and they don't even look like they've been touched. They don't even look like somebody picked them up and thought, no, and put them back. Like, they look pristine. Like, they have no one's even considered the big and bold buffalo chicken. I wonder if we killed the big and bold, the rollout of the big and bold. I don't know. Or they killed it because it's fucking terrible.
Well, listen, my review is genuine. I'm not one of these people who is against trash food. I think trash food is fine every now and then, You have these people out there like, how can you eat that? I don't eat anything but freshly organic foods that I prepare myself in my kitchen every day. Like, those people are full of shit. And I'm not one of those people. I'll eat a trash food now and then. I've got some trash foods in my freezer. I think most normal people do. But Rich, it was terrible. It was really horrendous. And I think the sales, these small sample sizes in your Target and my supermarket prove that it's truly a horrendous product. I can't think that this won't be that they're not going to just discontinue this thing pretty soon.
Well, I'd like to think that we had an influence on that our hundreds of thousands of listeners, I think, I haven't run the numbers in a bit, but I assume it's around there. Millions, I think, actually, have listened to the show and said, well, I just refuse to have this big and bold buffalo chicken. But what is interesting, though, about that is, and I looked in the aisle, too, and I should have taken a photo while I was there, but I thought it'd be weird, and there was, other people there, and I didn't think, what's this idiot doing taking photos of the Hot Pocket aisle? But it's nothing that you've been ever ashamed of. But what was weird is the other big and bold flavors were gone, because I actually went there in search of some of the other big and bold flavors. Because there's, the Philly cheesesteak one, or there's some other weird ones.
Well, no, there's the elusive sriracha steak.
I knew that wasn't going to happen. Yeah, or maybe, I don't know. So what's weird about the big and bold is at my Target the big and bold is in this middle of this entire area, and there's 2 to the left and 2 to the right that I assume are big and bolds. I couldn't read the UPC. I wasn't quite sure. And then there's the buffalo chicken. So I'm really wondering what those other big and bolds were. I don't think they could have been the sriracha, though. That one seems very elusive to everybody.
There's 3. There's the buffalo chicken, which is horrendous. There's the chicken bacon ranch.
And now that had to be all gone. I was actually able to see a UPC code that said chick bake something big and bold, and I was like, or B&B, and I was like, okay, that's that one. So that's not.
Well, it should say right on the box, chicken bacon.
Well, that
ranch.
was gone. It was gone. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Everything else, I'm saying only the big and bold was there, and I assume the other big and bold flavors were all out.
The chicken bacon ranch, which I did purchase, and I wanted to taste test it on this show. You know what happened? TLB took them to work.
Oh my God, what unbelievable!
She was like, "Ooh, chicken bacon ranch." She grabbed it out of the freezer and took it to work.
Did you scold her and tell her this is content? This is that's not food for everybody. It's for us.
I did.
It's content.
I was like, "Where's the chicken bacon ranch big and bold?" She goes, "Oh, I took them to work. They looked good." I'm like, "This is my livelihood. This is my work."
You're taking money out of our pockets.
This is flagship content. What are you doing? Right? So, I think she just gave me a dirty look and went upstairs. But then there's the third one is the sriracha steak, which I'm dying to get my hands on. I can't get it in my area. Can't get it. Because I think that one might actually be halfway decent. Sounds decent.
And yeah, so a few people are telling us some other stuff at their grocery stores in our chat room that are saying that they can't get it or whatnot. Yeah, it seems like everything else of mine has been back, pretty easily. But yeah, for me, it's the ramen, and there's also a run on mac and cheese too. I was having a tough time finding mac and cheese, but I don't really care because
for a few weeks there was a big run on mac and cheese. The kids eat that, and I couldn't get any. But the boxed macaroni and cheese. Yeah, everything's pretty much back now. But it's not like I live in the middle of fucking middle of fucking Chicago. I live out, I live in a fairly big town, but I'm still, in the middle of Texas. So, it's not like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I guess you would think that my supermarkets would be stocked a little.
Yeah, a little bit more not a huge population center or whatnot.
Right.
What I don't know what. So the other day I was given a can. Somebody was like, "Hey, I have some extra food, so here you go." And I was like, why'd you give it to me? I don't really need it or whatever. But regardless, I took it. It's like, okay, no problem. It was a can of Chef Boyardee pre-made mac and cheese in a fucking can. Have you ever had this?
That sounds horrible.
It sounds so bad. I will try to have it at some point when I'm very depressed. I will.
Well, you can't. Well, listen. It's probably listen. Here's the thing about boxed macaroni and cheese. Okay, as long as it comes with the liquid cheese in the foil packet, it's going to be edible.
Yeah. Oh, you and I have had this discussion, and people got mad at us, and I don't know why. It's ridiculous because I will not eat the powdered mac and cheese bullshit.
The powdered one, you can't. It's inedible. It's you can't eat it.
It's gross. It's only for if you're 6. It's only if you're 6 and under. You can't really eat it if you're. I hope you are. Do you give the kids the good stuff? The foil goo.
They won't even eat the powdered macaroni and cheese.
Awesome.
And they're toddlers, and they will turn their nose up at it, and they'll just pick at it, and they don't like it, and then they don't eat it. Then you got to give them something else anyway. But, the Kraft Deluxe, and the Velveeta that come with the packaged cheese and the foil, that's edible. I mean, it's not like the first thing you grab out of the pantry if you're looking for a snack, but as a backup item in the pantry for one of those days where you haven't been shopping for 10 days or whatever, maybe you're a little low on food, it's a perfectly acceptable item because it's edible. The problem, I'll eat the whole box like over the course of an hour or something if I'm just watching a game or something. But the powder, unedible. Now the stuff in the can, it's got the cheese on it already. I think my gut tells me it would fall somewhere in between the horrible powder shit and like the deluxe shit with the actual. I don't want to call it actual cheese. I guess it's more like
the cheese-like substance that comes in the foil packet. Yeah, but no, the worry that I have is the mushiness of the noodles is really got me pretty worried, because like that's the good thing about the shells and cheese or the Velveeta or the cheese-like foil substance thing that you get is that you can make the noodles pretty well. They can have a little firmness to them. You can kind of customize them a little bit. Like I know I throw some garlic on there. I'll put some siracha. I'll put some paprika. Like really kind of jazz it up a little bit. Make it a decent meal, and put it with something else.
You can even go with. I go sometimes with just a little black pepper.
Yeah, pepper's not a salad on that too.
And it really enhances it. And even the pasta quality.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's the change. That's what changes the game there, because the generic like bullshit boxed mac and cheese, like those little noodles, they suck and they're just soggy as hell the second you get them out there. I know that they have the ones with the shapes and all that sort of stuff. That's good, but you get quality noodles in the boxes with the foil stuff. So
I don't need shapes. I'm not looking for gimmicks. I'm not looking for like Pokemon powdered mac and cheese. I don't care about that. But the noodle quality definitely improves with the real cheese versions too, because the noodles with the powdered versions are very cheap noodles as well. Like you're saying, they're the real small thin ones, right? And they like the Velveeta, you can get the shell noodles.
Oh, the shells and cheese is elite. That's the elite mac and cheese. You're living if you get those.
Yeah, they hold the cheese real well because of the shell shape. That was a brilliant innovation. Plus the shells are rigid. It's like a ribbed condom almost. Like the outside is like ribbed. And that holds the cheese as well. So that was smart. And the Kraft Deluxe, you get the big fat elbow noodles, right? Same theory. The cheese could actually get inside of that shit. So it's even the noodle quality improves. But what were you talking about? The canned one? Were you talking about the canned one?
I was worried about the canned, the mushiness of the canned one and what the noodles are going to be like in this canned mac and cheese.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to fall between the other two. I don't think it's going to be as good. I think it's going to be, but I think it's going to be better than the powdered. I think it'll be better than the powdered.
Well, I'll let you know. I'll have it sometime soon. And
how can you get worse? That's like one of the worst foods you could eat is the powdered macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
The other problem with it too is it takes like 19 different ingredients. You have to have milk.
Yeah, and I never have milk. We never have milk, and the milk that we do have at our house, like I don't like. Michelle doesn't drink milk, so it's really only me. And most of the times I get like almond milk or I get something fun. You can't make that. You can't make that mac and cheese with anything besides like regular like whole milk or 2% milk or whatever. And I'm like, get out of here. I have to give you butter and I have to give you milk. Get out of here. Give me a foil pack with all that shit in there. Come on.
Now it's a whole process.
Yeah, right.
Now I'm making a recipe. What am I doing here?
Yeah, at this point, I'll make something good. Like, I'm not gonna, I want to just boil noodles and throw the shit in here and call it a day. Yeah, don't have me cutting butter and topping all, getting the measuring spoons out to find out how much milk I got to put in this shit. Get out of here.
Exactly. Now I'm measuring a stick of butter. Now I'm like, what's a quarter cup of butter look like? Now I'm measuring and I'm trying to figure this out. All for what? A horrible meal I'm not going to like anyway. So it's just a fail all around. It's a terrible, terrible meal. And then at that point, it's not even as cheap as you think, because now you're using milk and butter and all this other bullshit. Yeah, they should just. Why do they even have that? Like the other stuff's not even that much more money. Like the powdered stuff is like what, $1?
Yeah, I've long wondered why it even exists anymore. The
other one's like $2. So what the fuck is the difference? Why on earth wouldn't you buy the other one?
Oh boy. All right. So that is that. I just wanted to check in on the Hot Pocket, see where everyone's at Hot Pocket wise. But yeah. So the sriracha, what is it? Because maybe we can get our listeners to try to keep an eye out for those.
The sriracha steak is the one that I cannot track down. Now, when I say track down, you have to understand. I've gone to the same supermarket.
Yeah, by track down, you mean it's not at the place that I go to every single week. Yeah.
It's the only place I've gone to that isn't my house in the last 2 months is the same supermarket that I go to every week. So track down is used, with air quotes, so they might have it like a half a mile away in another supermarket, but I just go to the same supermarket every week. You know, I figure if I haven't caught the thing from that one, why press my luck? I'll just stick with the same store. You know, why expose myself to a new batch of fucking workers and a different batch of shoppers? I just stick with what I know. So I'm like a squirrel. You ever hear that thing they say where like if a squirrel is 75% across the street and gets scared, it won't keep going. Its instinct is to turn around and go back.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm one of these weirdos that will slam on the brake. Because like the idea of running over a squirrel horrifies me to no end. Yeah. I've done it once before, and I was like, I still think about killing that squirrel one time, and I'm like, God damn it! Like, and I knew it, like, but he did that thing where he like, you know, jukes me, and I'm like, all right, are you going? And then I think he's going away, and then he goes back, and it's like, oh my God, and I ran him over and felt bad. But yeah, I slam on the brakes and watch these guys, and yeah, it's just like they're a step away from going to the other side, and then they run to the back, and you're like, all right, that's fine, I get it.
And they're a little dopey squirrel brain because they're stupid. They most of the time they turn around and go back because they go to the last place that they knew was safe. They don't know. They're not positive that it's completely safe if they keep, and they're already shook. So they turn around and go back. That's me. It probably is illogical, but the supermarket I go to every week has worked out pretty well over the last 8 weeks. So I'm not fucking around with a different supermarket, you know, especially not for a sriracha steak hot pocket. You know, I just stick with what I know and hope for the best. But I think at this point, I'm never getting this fucking thing.
It's a shame. Yeah, it's an elusive one. Maybe we can call the Nestle Corporation and get one sent over to you. So they should sponsor the show, honestly. Really should. But
I mean, they get more airtime than the sponsors.
I was gonna say, like,
they should start paying up.
Poor ZipRecruiter gets 2 minutes, and we get 15 on Hot Pocket. So
do we have ZipRecruiter this week?
We don't this week. We don't. So they should have paid up. They would have gotten more. So.
I mean, honestly, how many of our listeners are taking advantage of that ZipRecruiter offer?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah.
Search out Blaze.
Well, there's a chance you won't be hearing many more ZipRecruiter ads on this, or really any other podcast moving forward. So yeah.
How many business magnates are listening to the voice?
Yeah, well, not many. Well, I think also the old ZR having a little issues there in the corporate HQ as well, because we got an email that said, yeah, I don't think anybody works for that company anymore. So.
And anyway, who's hiring?
Exactly. Yeah. What did it? I mean, yeah. Not a great time to have a job board website right now. So.
Well, it's always good to start off by burying a sponsor. That's always good.
A former sponsor, I guess. They're not officially a former sponsor yet, but
no, they're not. But we're burying them.
ZipRecruiter.com/VOW, I think is the link there. If you are a business magnate and you're looking to hire.
Put up a job board right now. Right. And there
is
you
it
go.
/VOW or is it Voices? Yeah, it's /VOW. Yeah, there you go.
Doesn't matter.
What's your first job in minutes? There you go.
Who cares?
We got to invoice them on that one. All right, Joe, before we get to the topics of the day, ratings did just come out for the NXT AEW. Do you want to touch on those real quick?
Fuck it. Let's hear them. I
got them in front of me. All right, here you go. You ready?
All right, yeah, let me get my pen.
Okay. I want to hear a click. Pen. Is this a click pen or a cap?
All right, hold
pen?
on. Well, shh, quiet. I'm going to do the Chelsea Green. Shh. Okay, now listen.
Nice. Ooh, that's a good one.
Did you pick up that click?
That's a good pen, yeah. What kind of pen you got there? I got a nice pen here too. See,
this is a.
I got Pilot G2.
This is an Arrow pen. I believe it was $7 or $8, so it's a quality pen.
Damn, nice. It's not a bank giveaway. Does the TLB steal pens pretty often?
You know, she doesn't, and it annoys me.
They have good pens. She should steal them all.
I'm always looking for pens, so I bought this really expensive pen, which is my official Voices of Wrestling notebook pen when I write down the matches and all my notes. But, you know, so that pen no one's allowed to touch. Every other pen in the house obviously disappears within a day. I'm like, why don't you just grab a handful of pens from this bank of yours and we'll be set. She's such a goody. Like, she doesn't want to take pens from the bank. Like, you should have saw during the toilet paper shortage a month back or whatever. She was a naughty girl, Rich. She brought home a toilet paper roll from the bank.
Oh no!
And you should have seen her bring it into the house. Like, it was like she was O.J. Simpson carrying a
She's
football.
under a trench coat. Like, Joe, meet me halfway. Like, come on.
She's got it buried under her arm, and I'm like, what do you got there? I'm like, what are you hiding? She's like, I got a roll of toilet paper. I took it from the bank. She's like, don't tell anyone. I'm like, who am I going to tell?
Right.
What do you mean? Don't tell anyone. Like it's not a
call
big
the
deal.
bank CEO. Hi, sir. I have a crime to report at one of your locations. One of your employees may have stolen a roll of toilet paper.
Like, what do you mean? Like, don't tell anyone was the first. Like, you serious right now? But yeah, she won't take the pens from her work. I don't understand it. You figure. The other thing too is you got to understand, customers steal the pen every time. Unless it's on the chain gimmick. You ever see the chain?
Oh, and those are the worst pens. The ones that are on the chains are garbage. I don't want to steal those ones anyway.
Right, but like, because now they don't have the bank lobby open. Everything is operating through the drive-through, right?
Yes.
So you don't have the pens attached to the chain gimmick. You don't have that. You just have to put the pen in the fucking vacuum gimmick, and it fucking shoots over to the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They never get the pen back.
And you can't ask for it, right? Because that guy's already driving away or whatever. So
no, we had this long conversation because I wanted to get to the bottom of this. I asked her to put a percentage on what percentage of pens come back on an average Wednesday. And the number was staggering. She says it's like 10% of the pens come back. She's saying, and I'm like, what you're saying is 9 out of 10 pens are not coming back. That seems high to me. Doesn't that seem high to you?
It does seem like a little bit more. I would assume that like if 50% maybe don't come back, but the idea that like 9 out of 10 people steal it is pretty wild. I don't that seems aggressive. Like I have by mistake stolen a few, never like really intentional, but yeah, it's got to be for me. It's 90% of the time I return the pen or whatnot. I can't believe that many people are driving away with it.
She swears. Now I think a bit of that is inflation due to her frustration because she's like in the muck. Like it's her pens that are being stolen. So she's probably cursing and muttering every time someone steals a pen. It's probably closer to 70 or 80%. But to me, that's still high. I thought maybe 20, 30% of the people would be stealing the pen.
Right.
I don't think people even do it on purpose. I think you fill out your document, you sign your check or whatever, you send it back. And then when you're halfway around the block, you realize that you've got the bank's pen. And you're not going to go back, right? I think a lot of people. What are we doing here? Let's do the. Let's do. The other thing that's happening, like they're doing everything out of the drive-through. So like they're like, and when I say everything, Rich, it's not some clown, bringing his paycheck to deposit. It's everything. They're doing like business loans.
Yeah, like big business transactions, yeah, and that sort of stuff, which is nuts. Because like I used to have to do that for one of my jobs, and we would bring like an ungodly amount of money in a bag to the bank, and I was always worried about it, like on the way there, because yeah, it would be like especially around like Christmas time or whatever. It was like there was a lot of cash being yeah, it'd be kind of wild to like put that through a drive-through and just kind of be like, okay, here you go. Like I don't know.
I don't think you understand. Like that's even normal business. What I'm saying is you're doing everything through the drive-through. Like people are pulling up to the drive-through window because what she does is like she does like loans and stuff. She's not a teller.
Okay. Oh my God.
People will come to the drive-through, and this is in rural Texas. Okay, she doesn't work in College Station. She works on some rural. I'm not going to say where because people are psychopaths.
Yeah.
So so you'll have like Farmer John pull up in his fucking 1969 Ford pickup, and he'll be like, "What can I do? How can I help you, Farmer John?" And Farmer John will be like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a business loan. I want to build another barn, so I'm looking for $1.5 to $2 million." Like that kind of shit is coming through the drive-through. So then they're doing like loan applications and meanwhile there's cars like building up behind, right? But they have no choice because they're doing everything through this drive-through, which only has 2 windows on top of everything else. So, and that's not a quick process.
Oh, so like dude that just wants to deposit his check or get some cash and the ATM line is too long, he's got to wait behind Farmer Bill then.
Correct.
Like while Farmer Bill looks over a loan document.
Right. While they're trying to do like the same thing you would do if you went in the bank and sat in the office. And you're in there for, 45 minutes, an hour, filling out a loan application. They're doing everything through the drive-thru. So if you're the unlucky fucking sap who gets in line behind that guy, and then people get in line behind you, you're stuck. Now you're stuck, and you're waiting there. So there's people like holding down the horn. It's a madness. These are her. And then she comes home, and I don't blame her, but she's all aggravated when she comes home because she's been dealing with that all day. And And then the next person in line is just like withdrawing $40, and they waited. They waited an hour to do it. So yeah, the bank situation's a mess.
I have thankfully not had to go to a bank. I've stayed away from all banks and everything like that. So I didn't know they were running loans and shit like that. It's nuts.
Yeah, they've shut down no services, but they're doing everything through the drive-through. It's fucking wild.
That's insane. All right, let's get to these ratings here. So you got the pen, it's clicked. Joe, you want to pat yourself on the back here a little bit? I know you're never one to shy away from that, but you earlier this week said, hey, I think UFC might hurt AEW and NXT, and everybody's like, no, it's on ESPN Plus, you idiot. That's not going to happen. It's ESPN Plus. Well, AEW, 654,000 total viewers, 0.23, 15th in the demo.
Okay.
That's bad.
And what we get for NXT?
NXT, the olds, they stuck around a little bit, 604,000.
Yeah, demo.
Demo 0.15, 46th in the demo. Okay,
so here's my takeaway from this, and this is content that's usually behind the paywall, but we'll do it here. That's a significant drop in the demo for AEW, and honestly, I think some of that may have been UFC, but I think I didn't think the show was very good last night. I think it was a lot of long matches that weren't very good. The matches weren't terrible, but I didn't think there was anything special about any of the matches last night. I just thought it was the least interesting episode of Dynamite probably this calendar year since they really turned the corner. It was firmly, to me, just a show, a 5 out of 10 average show. So I think that has just as much to do with it than potentially the UFC factor. But that's a huge demo drop. NXT, I mean, there's really nothing to take from that. They're right where they've been the last, 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah, those 56-year-olds, they love their NXT, man. They'll show up every single week. They don't give a shit what else is on. So.
Well, the one thing is they promised DX, and that was an obvious ratings maneuver there. Even though they were only on the show for 3 or 4 minutes, announcing the In Your House thing. So I don't know what that quarter did, but overall it didn't seem to make a difference because 0.15 is still an atrocious. They have to fix that. That's atrocious. It's like, again, I talk about this behind the paywall, but in the beginning of all this, it was like, okay, well, the ratings don't mean much because everything's in disarray. But now we're 2 months into this, and this is the new reality. So we have to stop saying that ratings don't matter or, because this is our reality now. And until the thing is over, which there's no end in sight, we now have to judge these shows and these companies on what's happening now in our new reality. And demo numbers in the mid-teens are not going to cut it. It's those are horrendous numbers. And for AEW, they were making a lot of progress. They were slowly crawling back to a 0.3. And honestly, if I talked about it last week, if they would have hit a 0.3, if they would have gotten back to 0.3 in the pandemic, that would have been incredible because they were the only show going up while all of the WWE shows are trending downward. So that really tells you a lot. But this week is a big blow. And whether it was UFC or the fact that it just wasn't a very interesting show, which I don't think it was. I mean, your main event was Brody Lee versus Christopher Daniels. That's not a great main event. That's a middle of the show match. That was their main event last
night.
night.
I thought it was a little bit better show than you did, but it wasn't exactly like a blow-away show. I mentioned, I think the word I used was breezy. Like, it was an easy 2 hours to get through, but nothing was all that important and nothing. What I mean by that mostly is that it's like nothing really stood out to you. I didn't think anything was like truly bad except for like the Matt Hardy shit, but for the most part, the rest of it was just kind of there. And again, nothing really, really bad, but nothing really, really great either. Like, I won't remember this episode ever again.
No, I didn't think it was a bad show. I just thought it was a show.
Yeah, right.
And it wasn't good. It wasn't bad. There was a Jericho segment, a long Jericho segment. You got to get him on the show. There was no Cody. I guess there was.
Yeah, briefly.
There was. Actually, they opened with Cody, so I can't even say that. It just, it was. So there really wasn't anybody missing who has, been on, other than people who've been missing because of the thing, like the Bucks and stuff like that. But so you can't really point to that, I guess. I don't know. I just didn't think the show was very interesting. And I don't know how many people subscribe to ESPN Plus. All all I know is over the weekend, the UFC prelims did over 1 million viewers, did a monster number. And they did 700,000 pay-per-view buys.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, anybody with a brain that could think for 10 seconds knew that, like, even on ESPN Plus or whatever, which has a lot of people. I mean, ESPN Plus has a lot of people. If you have Disney Plus, and most people that don't have kids probably have Disney Plus. A lot of them, you get ESPN Plus with it or whatnot, a lot of the packages. So it made sense. And, like, let's be honest. A lot of AEW fans, we talk about this all the time, and you hammer it home every single week on the Thursday TV reviews, voicewrestling.com/Patreon as well, is that NXT fans are wrestling and WWE NXT fans. They're older and they'll just watch no matter what. No matter what the hell else is going on in the world, they're going to show up every Monday, show up every Friday, show up every Wednesday. They're going to watch their shows. They're going to watch their wrestling or whatever. AEW fans they'll move, and I have to believe, and we don't know, maybe we'll get those ESPN Plus numbers eventually from USC, but like the normal AEW fan to me seems like somebody that would say, hey, you know what? Yeah, UFC hasn't been around a while. Yeah, I'll check that out. Like, they strike me as that. Like, I think next week we have NASCAR coming up against AEW, which again, people are going to say, oh, NASCAR, who gives a shit about NASCAR? But like, I think we're going to see it again, because I think those types of fans, those ones that are, exist in the actual real world, are looking for alternatives outside of just empty arena wrestling. Even if they enjoy AEW, hey, cool, you know what? I haven't seen NASCAR in a while. Let's go see this. It's live sports. It's real. It's happening. Let's go check that out. Or hey, UFC, I have ESPN Plus. Why not just check it out? Like, I really do think that those fans, and you mentioned as well, and there's statistical evidence of it too, that those fans do bounce around a little bit more. And if there is something else on TV, they're going to go check it out. Whereas NXT fans are just there every single week, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I was making that point months and months ago, and now everybody has caught up to that point. It's just the trends were obvious from the start that your typical Dynamite viewer is more likely to go check something else out that's going on in the culture, whether it's political or sports or another big television event, an award show. The trends are there; they're right there. Whereas that kind of stuff doesn't affect NXT to nearly the same level. So, I do think, what Saturday showed is there is heavy interest in a return of UFC, and I think that bodes well for the other sports that are thinking about returning. I think if the NBA or Major League Baseball return, I think they're going to do gargantuan numbers.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. If the NBA runs on a Wednesday anytime in the near future, they're going to fucking destroy.
These wrestling shows are dead.
They're dead. I mean, they'll be, I honestly, truthfully believe they'd be in the 400s.
Yeah. I mean, and UFC this past Saturday is kind of the test case for that, but I think, a return of any of the big when NFL comes back, if they run back on schedule and we're still sort of under this, or Major League Baseball or NBA, they're going to do huge numbers.
Yeah, I'm really curious about NASCAR next weekend. That'll be really, really
I think it's going to do well. I think the NASCAR is going to do well. The Dopey E-Racing did pretty good. I don't know how.
iRacing, Joe. It's called iRacing. No,
whatever the fuck.
It should be E-Racing. I know.
I don't know how people can sit there and watch video game racing. I have no clue, but it shows you the thirst. So when the real racing comes back, you would think that the real racing is going to destroy the video game racing numbers, and the video game racing numbers were pretty good. So I'm with you. I think the NASCAR race is going to do very well. And again, if history is any indication, it's going to hurt Dynamite more than it's going to hurt NXT. So yeah, I'm right with you there. When is the Survivor finale, or did that happen already?
I don't know. Yeah, people are saying that Survivor was on this week. I don't know if it was the finale or not, whatnot, but it had 7.5 million people watching it. So
yeah, that was going to take a trend again. If that finale was this week, and I should be on top of that, but if this were the TV reviews, I would be. I didn't expect.
I sprung this on you. Yeah.
But if that finale was this week, I mean, that took a chunk too. There's no doubt. Stuff like that always hurts Dynamite. Always. I just think the Dynamite viewers are more inclined to just watch it later on DVR if something else is going on that they perceive as being bigger. Or it's just, I think people perceive wrestling as something that doesn't have to be in the you can watch wrestling on DVR, whereas people are less apt to go back and watch a live sport on DVR.
Sure.
Or and if they're going to watch something like a Survivor finale, they want to watch that with the camaraderie of social media and tweet about it. And that has changed the dynamic too. You don't want to watch the Game of Thrones finale 6 days later. You want to be part of the conversation, right? So it's like there's more of a priority, where this is just a run-of-the-mill episode of Dynamite. And you can talk about Dynamite with your friends on Twitter next week. You can't talk about the Survivor finale next week on Twitter. So there's all those factors too. So it's just all those things have hurt Dynamite from the start. Politics too have hurt Dynamite.
Oh yeah, the news shows are doing well. Actually, the demo leader in cable was The Challenge on MTV. That one's doing really well as of late. The demo I think was 0.49 or whatever.
But even before the thing, when like Trump was having the impeachment hearings and everything, that would hurt Dynamite.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So that trend is there, and I know that other people like Dave Meltzer for sure has jumped on that bandwagon in the last couple of weeks. He picked up on that trend, but I've been talking about it from the start. So that there could have been some of that this week, but there's a big blow for them because they were. I was talking last week about how they were almost back to 0.3, which, they still want to live a little closer to 0.4 under normal circumstances. But I think getting to a 0.3, considering where all the WWE shows are at, trending downward and they were trending upward, would have been huge for them. But now this is a big step backwards. Now next week is the final build for Double or Nothing. So you think they'd have a loaded show, and that presumably would do a bigger number, or at least they hope would do a bigger number. But again, you got that NASCAR race.
Yeah, that's going on at 7:30 from the big
directly
return.
Head to head.
Yeah, so that's going to be. I mean, I cannot wait to see what those numbers are, and that's FS1 too. So we'll see what it is. It's not on regular cable. It's on FS1. So that'd be a really cool way to see the thirst of fans for real wrestling or real sports and active sports or whatnot versus empty arena wrestling. I'll be fascinated to see what that does. Directly head to head next Wednesday. So
patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling $5 tier. If you subscribe, you can hear everything I just said again about 4 or 5 hours from now,
with some additional insights too. It was the Survivor. It was a Survivor finale. Apparently, a 3-hour Survivor finale was last night. So.
Okay, so that's good for them because you got that out of the way. You got the UFC out of the way. Next week, all they have to contend with is the NASCAR race. So, and who knows? Maybe people are right. A lot of people are saying the NASCAR will hurt NXT more because they feel like there's more crossover between the WWE fans and the NASCAR fans. I understand that logic. I don't know if I buy into it, though.
Right.
So we're going to find out, though, next week. But honestly, I think getting hit with the Survivor finale and the UFC all in one shot this week is better for them because they'd rather do a bigger number next week because they're trying to sell a pay-per-view. So, and if people are right and there's not a ton of crossover between the AEW viewers and the NASCAR viewers, they should get back to that 0.25, 0.26 range at minimum for the go-home show, which is the more important show anyway.
All right, let's talk some other WWE stuff here. Plenty of news going on. Do you want to start? We got the Becky Lynch announcement. We got the brand split, and we also have WWE Money in the Bank 2020, including Mr. and Mrs. Money in the Bank. Where did you want to start? Do you want to go with the news first, or jump into the review of old Money in the Bank 2020?
I guess we should do Becky first and then review Money in the Bank and then talk about the Money in the Bank fallout, which is the brand split stuff and everything. So why don't we do it like that?
Yeah, let's do that. So Becky obviously announces on Raw that she is relinquishing the women's title. Asuka, by virtue of winning the Money in the Bank briefcase the night prior, is now the champion, and Becky is pregnant, so she is going away for a while, obviously to be pregnant and have a child. And I think the real question for me, and I know a lot of people have talked about all this in the moment, and to me, I don't really, whatever, she's gone and she's not coming back and whatever, but like long term, I think let's talk about that, because I think you and I can probably do a better job than most people at this. Is she ever coming back? Like, is she ever going to be an active full-time wrestler ever again? I kind of think no.
I could easily see her not coming back full-time. The thing is, she clearly loves wrestling, so there's that factor. But The Rock loved wrestling.
Yeah,
and
he grew up in it. I mean, God, he felt like the biggest lifer that ever was a lifer, and then the second he got an opportunity to leave, he was gone.
And he's come back sporadically, when things seemed interesting for him. The 3-year Cena feud was something he thought was interesting, so he participated in that. But you're talking coming back full time, and he obviously has never come back
right full
time. But the counter to that is The Rock became the biggest star on the planet. He's arguably the biggest star in entertainment on the entire planet. Becky Lynch is not going to be the biggest star in entertainment on the entire planet.
No. She may have hired The Rock's agent. She might be trying to get movie roles. She might be talking to the right people and doing that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't think anybody in the universe would think that she's ever going to get to the level of The Rock, the biggest entertainer and, like you said, biggest movie star in the world, or even like a Batista type too. I mean, that would be, I think, if she could, that'd be, obviously great for her, but like even that feels unattainable right now. But I don't know. You never know. I wouldn't have said that about Batista back in the day too, when he started dabbling into acting either. So,
look, I don't know. All I know is she's not going to be The Rock. So it's harder for The Rock to come back because it's like, do I go back and wrestle and make a lot of money, or do I make these 3 movies and make $50 million per movie? It's not even close. The decision is made for him. He still found time to come back and do part-time stuff because he does love it, but. So I don't know. I mean, I obviously I think she'll wrestle again. I don't think it's the last time she's ever going to wrestle. And I guess it depends how it all goes for her. She gets the right role or she gets the acting bug or whatnot, and she might lose interest in wrestling. But especially, don't forget the reason she's leaving. I mean, she's having a child. So
right. And I think people that are saying, oh yeah, well, once she has a kid, she'll be right back and go and stuff. It's like, all right, well, somebody has to watch this child. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be, her husband or, soon to be husband is going to be Seth Rollins. And, presumably, so I'm just joking, but like both of them are not going to be full-time on the road wrestling and also raising a newborn.
I mean, we've seen couples that do that, but we've also seen couples where that they don't do that, and one of them does quit. But that's the other thing. Like, she wants to have a family, and sometimes it's not even a matter of who's going to care for the child. It's a matter of I'd rather care for the
exactly.
child.
Right.
It's like you start a family, and you're like, I don't want to be on the road because I want to raise my children. I want to be in my children's lives 7 days a week. And acting makes that a little easier because maybe I'll have a project that'll eat up a month of my time, or maybe I'll have a project that'll eat up 2 months or 2 weeks of whatever the case. But it's not eating up all of my time, where I'm only home 1.5 days or 2.5 days a week or whatever. And, I can be in my child's or my children's lives. Well, if she decides to have another one, it's like maybe, it changes your perspective, and maybe it's not a matter of who's going to do this, but I want to do this. So there's that factor too. Which I think really was the thing with Bella, right? Daniel Bryan's wife. I mean, she's never going to, she's home raising children.
Yeah, exactly.
And he has even spoken about that, with the more limited schedule he had before all of this and everything, and wanting to be home, raising his kids or whatever. So that changes the game too. So do I think we're going to see full-time Becky Lynch ever again? I mean, the chances are decent that the answer is no.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, we'll obviously see what's going to happen, but yeah, it's a interesting discussion. And I think, in that company as well, I do wonder what, someone like a Vince McMahon is thinking about all of this, which is, it seems kind of perverse to say like that he wouldn't be like, oh, it's great, have fantastic, but like, we know Vince McMahon. I mean, like and this isn't the first time that he's gotten upset, or this wouldn't be the first time, I should say, that he would have gotten upset at somebody for getting pregnant or getting injured or getting a concussion or doing that. Like, he exists not in the real world. He exists in the world that he's created, his own little universe, his own little play toys or whatnot. And when somebody, breaks from that or goes away or has something else that happens in the real world, like, he either sometimes will just completely forget about you, he'll hate you, he'll never, the word I use is trust. And then we've heard that from guys that got hurt. Like a Dolph Ziggler, there was many years where it felt like Dolph Ziggler was on the cusp of being like the next big star, but then he had a bunch of concussion issues, and people internally said that Vince just stopped trusting him. Fandango, another guy who was getting pushed a bunch, had a concussion. Vince just stopped trusting him. Obviously, what was she in WWE? Was she Karma or Amazing Kong or whatever? Karma, right? Was her name in WWE. Yeah, so they bring her in. She's a huge deal right off the bat. She's getting squash matches. They're pushing the hell out of her. They're, she looks like she's on a trajectory to be the biggest women's star. She gets pregnant. They've never touched her since then. They've never ever went back to that well ever again. And I'm not saying that Becky is on the same level as those people, and I'm not saying Vince is as maniacal as he may have been in past years. But to me, it makes it. I know that guy. We've been covering this guy a lot. If you watch WWE wrestling, if you follow this stuff, you know what Vince McMahon thinks and what he kind of does. And I have to imagine internally, he's probably not super happy that his women's champion relinquished the title and was going away for, 8+ months, 8, 9, 10 months, whenever she feels like she's ready to come back. Like he can't be happy about that. That's just not the way that he is. That's just not the way he operates.
Well, I think it's a little more complicated. I think that he could be happy for the individual, or individuals in this case, since both parents work for him. But let's not forget that Ronda Rousey left, presumably to start a family as well.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the 2 main eventers from WrestleMania last year. And, well, 2 of the 3. You got shoehorn.
Charlotte.
You shoehorn Charlotte.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. You got to shoehorn Charlotte. Yeah, for sure.
But we know what was driving the bus there.
Yeah.
The other 2. And I don't think, or I would like to think, that he wouldn't be vindictive towards either of them specifically for being pregnant or wanting to be pregnant. Whereas some of the other people you mentioned through concussion or pregnancy, they weren't huge stars. So once they were gone for a while, they were out of sight, out of mind, and he lost interest. Right. I don't think that would be the case with a Becky Lynch or a Ronda Rousey. I think when either were ready to come back or wanted to come back, he wouldn't lose interest in them because they're big stars, especially Rousey. So they would immediately get the same level of push. But what I do think could happen here, now that he's lost Rousey and Lynch, is I could easily see him being like, well, listen, there's this extra factor with the women's wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And maybe we shouldn't invest the same amount of time and effort that we have because I've lost my 2 biggest stars to pregnancy or wanting to start families. So I can totally see him either subconsciously or very much consciously putting less effort into the women in general because it's too unpredictable in terms of
right. To him, and again, this is us. I don't think this way. Joe doesn't think this way, for the record. But yeah, I could see him, Vince McMahon, thinking, well, these women have a shelf life, and I want people that can be stars forever. That never go away. They're always going to be here for me, type stuff. And as horrible as that is,
not even just a long shelf life, but just it can happen anytime.
Right.
Like I could be in the middle of an enormous push or a big story or building to something, and they can either decide they want to start a family or just get pregnant. That happens, Rich. And it's like, and I could totally see him being the type of person, again, either subconsciously or otherwise, thinking, well, I have to be careful and protect myself against that. And maybe this whole women's revolution thing that, when Stephanie McMahon invented women's wrestling, what year did she invent women's wrestling?
I believe that was 2015 or 2016 is when she invented it. Yes.
So maybe he's like, hey, we've done 5 years of this, and I lost my top 2 stars to this, and who's to say that Charlotte doesn't want to start a family with Andrade around the corner, and maybe his wheels are turning, and he's like, I can't go. I don't trust any of this enough to go full steam ahead with a top women's star ever again. Do I find that plausible? Fuck yeah, I do. I can. Can't you see him thinking in that manner? Because I definitely can.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of why I brought the question up as well. It's there is the factor of I can't trust you anymore, quote unquote, which is a little bit more of that's a little bit more cynical, a little bit more negative, but also, like you said, the subconscious of like, well, you know what, the term isn't unreliable, but just the fact that I can't always guarantee that you're going to be for me. Unpredictable. I don't know what's ahead. I don't know if in 2 weeks something's going to come up and I need to plan a story out 6 months or whatever. I mean, he's a wrestling promoter. I mean, this is what he's done. This is the world that he lives in. He doesn't live in a real world. He doesn't live in the world where other things exist, but his little universe and his little show or whatever. So yeah, to him, it's like you as an asset, you're an unpredictable asset to me. Whereas, men are not. I know what I'm going to get from them every time, barring injury or whatnot. Even that, he gets pissed off and stuff. It's weird.
And you can even cut promos and even work with injuries. You cannot bump if you're pregnant. You cannot have a baby and come back to work a week later. It's a long-term thing. She's going to be gone 14, 15 months. And that's, as fast as everything changes, even outside of COVID and the thing. I mean, 14, 15 months is an eternity in pro wrestling. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this is with someone that thinks the way he does, it could turn out to be bad for the women's division as a whole. I don't think it would turn out bad for Becky Lynch or Ronda Rousey even specifically, because I think they're big enough stars where it does not matter. If the day Becky Lynch comes back, she's going to get the same push that she was getting when she left. If it was Dana Brooke, probably not. But that's no different than when Dolph Ziggler gets a concussion and they give up on him for a year and a half.
Right.
They're just not big enough stars to where once someone like that is out of sight, out of mind, whether it's fair or not, you got to earn your shit back because they've moved on to other people. And you're just not important enough, in his eyes to just slot right back where you were.
Right. Very rarely in that company, once you get to the main event state these days, you don't usually fall back ever. You just go away. You know what I mean? Like when you come back or whatever you do, you stay in the top tier for the most part. Maybe you have a few months, maybe a little bit, but you're pretty much a star from there on out. So yeah, the idea, like I'm not saying that Becky's going to come back and they're going to be like, all right, here, you're in a 6-man tag with, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose or whatever. Like, I don't think that's the case, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm pretty fascinated what ends up happening with her, but yeah, he's pretty rigid. In terms, once you've reached that star pantheon for him, you're really going to be there pretty much for life.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a plaything of the week or whatever, like there's some, Jinder Mahal or something like that, one of those guys. Those they have no problem, bouncing back and forth. So
we're talking about real stars.
Yeah, not just
Jinder Mahal was a champion, but I don't think anyone would argue he was like a star.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
He's just a guy who held a title. He's a guy who held a works title that couldn't even move business in the country that they wanted him to move the business in. I mean, that tour was a disaster. That tour was a fucking disaster. They had to cut that tour down. Because it didn't draw. They had to cut shows.
Yeah, I think it was
tour.
3 shows and it got down to 1, and then that one show ended with Triple H pedigreeing him in the ring, which is just as on the nose as you could possibly be about the entire push of Jinder Mahal. So, and
then that was it for him. I mean, didn't he lose the title right around that time? They were like,
yeah.
I mean, because that was intended to pop business in India, and to be honest, it didn't tank business here. Like the SmackDown ratings for his title reign held. They didn't drop. He didn't draw. But they didn't drop either.
Right. It was just universally panned because it was bad. But yeah, it didn't business wise. It didn't really seem like it affected anything. But it didn't help anything in India, which is
it didn't help the ratings here, but it didn't tank them. I don't remember the house shows to be honest. But the whole intent was to at least hold steady here while you pop a new market, and that failed miserably. The tour was an unmitigated disaster, and I think a lot of that was confusing imagery. Like you're presenting him as a heel on TV, but you want the Indian people to rally behind him, right? But that clearly didn't happen. But I think they were scared to present him as a babyface on TV because he just wasn't very good, and he's much better as a heel and all those sorts of things. And they thought that probably would have tanked SmackDown if they.
Oh, for sure, yeah. If they had him as hey, this Indian champion, he's so good. Look at him. It's no,
I mean, undoubtedly the best role was as a heel with the Singh brothers taking the bumps, and that was the best possible way to approach it.
Yeah. Oh no, I think Vince thought he was going to get like a Bret Hart in Canada type thing with Jinder Mahal, and obviously that didn't happen.
It didn't work out because in India that just didn't. And that's the tricky thing because you run the risk when you do that of the people in the market you're trying to pop just agreeing with you.
Yeah, they're like, that guy's kind of a shithead. I like John Cena a lot more. Yeah,
right, and that's ultimately I think what happened. And then they pulled the plug, and then he got hurt, and now he's back. He's getting a modicum of a push now, but what was the? Oh, so the other thing I want to talk about was the actual angle where Becky gave up the title. She comes down to the ring with the Money in the Bank briefcase, which actually has the title in it, to give to Asuka. I've seen people praising this. I thought this was a terrible television segment. It's and I know people are praising it. Oh, the emotion that she showed and everything. But from a pro wrestling perspective, this angle stunk.
It was confusing as fuck. It was so weird.
Isn't Asuka supposed to be a heel?
Yes, but then she goes, "Oh my god, congratulations, thank you," and starts crying. And I don't know.
And I don't understand that. Shouldn't she be mocking her? Go change your fucking diapers. I'm the champ
Shayna.
now.
Yeah, kind of the Shayna style thing.
The Shayna style, exactly. So you have a heel being out of character, you have Becky like praising the heel and putting her over. Shouldn't Becky be like?
Well, maybe it's an Asuka face turn that we didn't know about. Because is that possible that Shayna's being the heel and Asuka's the face, and that's your new direction
with this company?
I know. I'm trying. You got to give me credit for trying.
But even if that's a turn, like, what's Becky's motivation to all of a sudden be a fan of this person? Like, the whole thing was fucking weird. And then you have Asuka doing her gimmick the whole time, jumping around, making noises, and that I didn't think that fit the tone of the segment. This tone of the segment was supposed to be a bittersweet moment. You're happy for her, you're happy for Becky, but you're sad she's going away. And you have this cartoon character, because that's what Asuka is now. She's a fucking
she just goes yeah. That's all she does now, yeah.
And she jumps, she dances, she fucking jumps around and dances. She's a cartoon. She's the female Otis. That's what she is. So and they've got and do you realize now that they have 3 Japanese women on the roster who all do the same gimmick?
Right, I know.
They all do the gimmick where they jump around and make noises and fucking dance. Asuka, the tag team partner, Io Shirai, and the tag team partner, Kairi Sane.
Yeah.
They all do essentially the same gimmick. Where, if you see Io Shirai in NXT, where she attacked Rhea Ripley last week, same thing. Just making loud noises and jumping around and being, like, out of control. And it's all the same gimmick. But it's like Asuka's cartoon act didn't match the tone of the segment. I thought that segment was a train wreck. It was very confusing as a viewer. Like, well, how am I supposed to feel here? Okay, maybe you're right. Asuka's a babyface now. Or, like, maybe but why was Becky so happy to give her title to a heel at the start of the segment when Asuka didn't really turn face until she was, like, happy about I don't, Rich, why are we
they don't care, and I guess you shouldn't care, because our chat room's like, no, I think they're faces. And it's like, no, they've been heels. Like, they've been heels, and it was always bad, because we were laughing about it. We did a segment about this not that long ago about, like, how funny it was that, like, fucking Asuka and Kairi Sane, or especially Kairi Sane, were heels, because they were heels up until I don't know when they turned at some point. Maybe Asuka turned on that night or whatever, but I don't know.
Well, why shouldn't it be easy to figure out whether they're faces or heels on top of that? And that still doesn't change the fact that you have a cartoon character out there jumping around like a lunatic during what's supposed to be a bittersweet moment. The tone was all off. Tonally, none of this worked. Why can't they just have her come out there, give up the title, and not even have Asuka involved in the segment? Why does Asuka have to come out there? Let her have her moment in front of 0 fans, which is ridiculous on top of everything else, because what kind of a moment is it?
Yeah, right. Well, maybe this was supposed to be the official face turn of Asuka by her saying, oh my god, congratulations. Like, that's a face turn, I guess.
Do you find Asuka extremely off-putting right now?
Oh, she's terrible. Yeah, it's awful.
It's
comical. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, we'll talk about when we review Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
but it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, why? Who would find this entertaining on any level? Yeah. That's all she does. It's like, okay, all right, I get it. You're wild. You're crazy. Okay, like,
it was good. Here, it's the typical WWE thing where it worked at the start, but then once they saw that it worked, they have to turn it up to 15.
Yeah. Oh, and Otis was that way too. We'll talk about it in the Money in the Bank. Like, I don't hate Otis as much as you did, but after this 45 minutes of him going, oh yeah, the entire time, I'm out now. I am as out can be, man. I am with you on Otis now.
But the Asuka thing when she was doing commentary and she first did the heel turn, it was working, and I thought it was good and it was interesting, and it was an evolution of the character or whatever. But now it's just, they saw it worked, and it's the subtlety hammer at play. And now she's just a total cartoon character. And like you just said about, I'm out on Asuka. She's a cartoon. And once you cross that line into just a one-note character.
Well, that's what I was going to say. What if I told you, Joe, describe Asuka's character to me? I've never watched WWE. I don't know what this is. Who is this, and what are her motivations, and what does she do? What would you say?
Well, a better way to approach that would be if I had never seen wrestling before and I decide, I'm going to try this. I'm bored. I'm in quarantine. Let me try a new form of entertainment. What would a new viewer think that she's supposed to be? An insane person? Mentally unstable? Like, what? How does it come across? I keep coming back to it. She's a cartoon character. it's just goofy and it's over the top and it's just too much. And it's kind of like she's a microcosm of a lot of the mistakes they've made over the years with where they just something works and they have to beat you over the head with it. They can't just let it be the thing that's working. It has to be turned. The volume has to be turned all the way up and you got to be over the top with it. So she has to do that silly little dance with her hands between her legs every time. It can't just be an organic thing that's working. It has to be, you have to put all of your chips in on anything that even remotely works ever. And it's one of the infuriating things about the company.
Well, speaking of this company, as we continue to stay in WWE land, an announcement made this week, postwrestling.com was the first one with it. Quote, WWE is set to introduce a ruling that will allow for some crossover between Raw and SmackDown, which comes at a time when numbers have significantly declined on both shows. Post Wrestling was informed that the ruling will be introduced on tonight's episode of Raw, with the hope that it'll be a simpler version of last year's ill-fated wild card rule. So what the fuck is this thing called again now? It's called something else. It's like a... let me find out the exact word that they're using here. A brand-to-brand invitation show. Are you ready for brand-to-brand invitations?
I don't even know what I'm supposed to say here. I mean,
this is so how many of these brand? Okay, so the original brand split was 2002, correct? Then I think we did on and off. That kind of stood for a while until ECW came, and then that was another edition of the brand split slash brand extension. And then 2016 we had a brand split slash brand extension, I believe, and that lasted, I don't even remember, like a year or so. And then we went back to whatever, and then we did it again recently when they went to Fox, and then we had a wild card. Who fucking cares anymore? Why did they even try this ever again? They know it never works. It never ever worked. It worked one time when it first started, and now it never works ever again. But still, we got to go back to it every single time.
I'm going to be completely honest. I had no idea that there was a strict brand split to begin with. I just didn't notice. So I don't even know what to say. I didn't know it was a thing. Charlotte's been on NXT for the last month.
Right. I know.
So I never really put thought into it. Now that I really think about it, I guess people haven't been the Raw and the SmackDown people haven't been appearing on the other show, I guess. Now that I really put some thought into it, but how many times have we been through this? Now I get it from the network perspectives. They're getting a little antsy. And I get it from WWE's perspective. This could be, they've got to try things. And they've been trying things the last few weeks. There's no question about it. We just talked about, DX. First, they tried DX on SmackDown. Then they tried DX on NXT this past week. So I understand. Do I think it's going to make any kind of big time difference? I don't. I mean, do I think putting, who do you want to use as an example? Seth Rollins showing up on SmackDown, is that going to excite people and pop off rating on Friday night? No, of course it's not. But it's they have to work with what they have, and I guess they feel like the best course of action is to you see what could work is if they did a really hot feud between the brands. That seems to work. Right. But their execution is always so poor when they try stuff like that they'd find a way to bungle it up. Because that did pop NXT for a little while there, but, and SmackDown, to be fair, but it's I don't know. I just think, whoever the fuck showing up on Raw from SmackDown isn't going to make any kind of, but I mean, they can't come into these meetings and have no plan. They've got to come up with ideas and try things. Right. Yeah. And we always mention this when these changes happen or whatnot, because there's all these people on Twitter that's oh, that doesn't matter. Nobody cares. They don't care about ratings. But obviously, they get into these meetings with these networks. And the reason we're seeing so many random changes is these networks probably look at this and go, what the fuck's going on? What are you going to do? And Vince's fans are, I'm going to get rid of house shows, or I'm going to hire Eric Bischoff, or I'm going to hire Paul Heyman, or I'm going to get rid of Eric Bischoff, and I'm going to actually hire Bruce Pritchard. And actually what we're going to do is we're going to go live, and actually we're going to do a brand split. Actually, we're going to undo he's got to offer something. When they call and they say, hey, what are you going to do about this? He has to give them something. And that's why every few months now we get something different. It's a wild off the wall thing that happens because he's got to atone for what's going on
the overall big picture issues with the company, and that the creation of no new fans, the creation of no new stars, all that sort of stuff. He can't do the big fixes, so he's got to do these little things. We got to do a brand split. That'll help things. Wait, no. We got to undo the brand split. Oh, wait, no. We got to hire this guy. Oh, wait, we got to get rid of that guy and actually hire this guy. Like, that's why we've seen this over the last 2 years, because he's scrambling, because these networks are looking at this shit and saying, wait a minute, we paid you X amount, and now you're giving us this. And he's got to change something. So that's why every few months we have a wild off-the-wall change that wasn't what it was 2 weeks ago, because you got to, like you said, you have to come with something. You got to come to the table with, well, here's what we're going to do to fix this. It's never going to happen. Like, nothing, hiring Paul Heyman, hiring Eric Bischoff, none of that shit works, but you got to say something. You got to appease them for that moment, get them off the phone, and then, wait until the next time when you have to get on the phone and say something to, try to appease them.
Yeah. It's like, I know at my job, if things aren't going well, I can't show up to a meeting with my boss and have nothing.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, why are these numbers this way? I don't know. What are you going to do about them?
Yeah.
Keep on keeping on. Keep the momentum going. It's like,
I have to have answers for why the numbers are what they are, and I have to have solutions. Now, half of what I say or some of what I say might be bullshit that I think he's just going to buy. I mean, the game. But you got to come in with something. You got to come in either with concrete ideas on how to fix it or bullshit ideas that will hold you over for a while until you can figure out how to fix it. And so I understand why they make these changes, and I understand, why, but I also understand why it's frustrating for fans, because it's just, you can't keep doing the same things while the ratings keep tanking further and further. Because as we talked about before, this is the new reality. You can't keep going to the network executives when they're upset and saying, oh, well, this darn COVID. Well, we've been dealing with that for 2 months now. You got to come up with some, we may not expect you to get back to 4 million if we're Fox, but you have to either stall.
Right, your arrow keeps pointing down, and yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, you need to tell us how you're going to reverse this. Because now we've got problems on the other end with ad money drying up and sponsors. We just talked about ZipRecruiter. On a larger scale, this is happening to everybody. So everybody is tugging at their collar right now. So Vince can't go into these meetings with no answers or just blaming everything on the thing. So I get it. Will it make a difference? No, not any kind of appreciable difference. Maybe a minor, maybe the first week of it, if they do something interesting, could I see it pop in a number or two? Sure. But then again, let's look at the track record of the company when it comes to stuff like this. Whatever they do, even if it's hot, they'll either blow through it or they'll find a way to muck it up and people will lose interest in it. So I really, that's why to me, the whole brand split story of this going, it's not even for me, I don't even see it as a big story or something that's really interesting to talk. I don't find it interesting to talk about because I can't imagine us spending 40 minutes to an hour on this when ultimately it doesn't mean anything. So, in a couple weeks, we're going to forget that guys are going to work both rosters and it's not going to mean anything for ratings. And, ultimately it's just to me a meaningless story.
Well, one good thing though is that the dream matches should be numerous with this new brand-to-brand invitation. I don't know if you've seen, but the first one out of the gates, Baron Corbin, King Corbin versus Drew McIntyre. So they're really starting off nice and hot here with the two biggest stars. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, this is how you know it's going to fail. The first match they announce is Drew McIntyre versus fucking SmackDown's King Corbin. Like,
well, look, the guy at the head of the table is convinced that Baron Corbin is a difference maker. Now, I don't know what data he looks at that the rest of us aren't looking at.
His boner, I guess, or something. I don't know what it is.
I mean, seriously, it's like that string of 2 straight pay-per-views that bombed.
Battleground, yeah.
They bombed at the gate. The ratings bombed. And it's like, when is this guy ever... Now, again, I don't know maybe they're looking at something we don't see. I don't know. But they're convinced that Baron Corbin is a legitimate thing. Like, I don't advocate cutting the guy. He does get heat in the buildings. You know, so it's like there's value in someone who gets reactions in buildings. But is he always over-pushed beyond his level? Yes. You know, that they always put him in positions that he shouldn't be in? Yeah. If he's just a mid-card guy who... I would love a roster full of mid-card guys who get the reactions that he gets. There's value in that. The problem with Baron Corbin is he's always pushed beyond his level. So, and like you're saying in this instance, a big opportunity like this, they put Baron Corbin in the spot. It doesn't make any sense. But then again, who are you going to put it? They don't have anybody.
They don't have stars. Yeah, there's nobody.
I don't think Drew McIntyre is. I mean,
no.
We talked. I'm not going to do it again because we just talked about it last week. But I don't think he's anything special either. He hasn't stopped the bleeding at all with Raw. So
yeah, they got a real issue. They got a real issue right now, man. In terms of we've had this discussion for years and years and years, but like this is almost the most dire I've ever seen it. Where like legitimately, I don't know if I could come up with one matchup between Raw and SmackDown that would be like you said. Oh, Seth Rollins is going to be on SmackDown.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Yeah, what's,
you know, who cares? Like,
okay, yeah. Well, let's look at this. What is the dream match that you build to between these two brands?
You got one, Joe?
I mean, what is it? What's the end game? What is the thing where you sit in a room with the writers and you say, okay, we're going to cross the brands and we're going to build to a huge television angle and we're going to reverse this rating trend and we're going to build to this obvious match. What is it? What's the match?
Braun versus Seth Rollins or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Here's the problem. All of these guys have wrestled each other, first of all, because of all of the stop and start brand splits.
Yeah, right. There's not a fresh matchup there anywhere.
And because you're constantly mixing the brands. If they had done the brand split, what'd you say? It was 2002?
2002 was the original one, yeah.
If they had done the brand split in 2002, and for the last 18 years truly kept these rosters separate, and never fucked around with it, and called guys up to a brand, and they stayed there for life, and every now and then you have someone jump to keep things fresh. You know what I mean? In other words, create their own world of competition, which they themselves snuffed out. Right? Wasn't that originally the idea of the brand split?
Oh, yeah. That they wanted the actual rosters of Raw and the actual rosters of SmackDown to stop liking each other and start kind of feuding, and the people in charge of the writing to kind of hate each other and side-eye one another in the hallways or whatnot. And for a while it worked, you know, especially when you have Paul Heyman on one of the sides. He's going to rally his troops behind him. So, yeah, it actually kind of worked for a little bit.
But it's like the idea was we don't have real competition anymore, so we'll create our own.
Yeah, right.
That quickly went out the window. If that had held true for 18 years... then when you really needed to pull it out of your back pocket like you do now, you might have two rosters full of people who have never commingled. And you might have true dream matchups. And you don't even need 18 years of separation. If they've just kept separated for the last 3 years. But is there any match that we haven't seen between these two sides that you feel like is super fresh, super hot, and can pop a number? I cannot think of one.
No.
I mean, who can Seth Rollins wrestle on SmackDown?
Yeah, Braun Strowman. Has that really got you going? Has that got you excited? The Braun Strowman-Seth Rollins feud? Like,
you have Braun and Bray and I guess Sami Zayn and his crew, but they're mid-carders.
Sami ain't going to be there for a while, it doesn't look like. So,
right. And then if they hadn't completely booked Nakamura into oblivion, they had a star at one point.
Yeah. The Miz, Seth Rollins versus The Miz, that got you...
The Miz has wrestled everyone on the roster. The Miz has been there for 15 years, and he's wrestled everybody on the roster. And on the Raw side, I mean, I guess Drew McIntyre would have some fresh matches. The problem is I don't think anyone cares about Drew McIntyre. You have, I mean, you know, Brock isn't coming back for this shit. And I don't know if you want to pay him what you need to pay him to come wrestle an empty arena match to bump up your rating, you know, by 50,000 fans. If it even does bump the rating. There are people who believe Brock doesn't draw. And then, so who else is on the Raw side? I don't know what's the match. If you're going to do this, you have to have a match.
Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt. That's your match, buddy.
We've seen that. It was horrible.
I'm joking. Yeah, it's fucking garbage. Yeah.
It killed Seth Rollins as a babyface. You know, so I know you were kidding, but so that's why to me it's not a story. You know, if there was an obvious match you're building to, then you say, all right, well, okay, now what do you do? Do you do that match on Raw? Do you do it on Fox? Or do you do it behind your paywall? Now we can have an interesting conversation, right? But there's no conversation to have.
Yeah, there's not one match. And it's not like, we posed this question. I'm looking in our chat room right now. I have yet to see one earnest answer in the chat room. It's just like, it's either silence or somebody saying Bray versus Seth, LOL. Like, yeah, honestly, you could not... I'd listen to anyone. I'd listen to anyone if you said, "Oh, this match, this guy versus," and that's what I meant. Like when I started this little mini segment here is like they are in such a dire situation that you can't make one match, that would interest you on any level whatsoever. That you can reasonably say, yeah, you know, Joe, that match is going to make people watch that show, whatever show it is.
Even thinking like a hardcore WWE fan, right? The kind of fan who just loves the WWE and they watch, and I'm not even being facetious or anything. Someone who just loves watching this stuff and they're big fans of the company. And what's the match for that kind of fan? I still don't think there's one.
No, like Bayley versus Asuka, maybe. Like that's kind of cool, I guess. But
that's a big money match.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's like a good.
I mean, where's the money match? You know, it's so. Okay, they're going to commingle the rosters. Great. There's no end game here, and there's no money match. There's nothing that's going to pop a rating. Because I don't think Seth Rollins showing up on Fox is going to pop a rating for Fox. Or whoever. And he's a pretty big star. You know,
he's one of the biggest. Yeah, he's in that upper echelon, the top 5 if you're talking about it. And none of those top 5. Your Drew McIntyre's. Okay, honestly, the top 5. What is it? Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, and
who are we forgetting?
I mean, King Corbin, right?
Becky's gone. It's not, Asuka, Bayley, and Sasha are the top women. They're not like pushed at that level right now. Who are we forgetting? Someone obvious?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but
isn't it incredible that they can basically buy up?
They have everybody. They have every good wrestler that's ever wrestled.
They got everyone they got everyone except the Elite, and they have no stars.
Everybody but Elite and Zack Sabre Jr. They have everybody but the Elite, Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay, and they literally we can't even name their top 5 wrestlers on the roster right now. And by wrestler 3, we're already laughing and saying, "I guess this guy."
Did we name 4 or 5 guys?
I named 4, and then I said, "I guess King Corbin."
Braun, Bray, Seth, and Drew.
Yes, that's I think the core 4. That's the top 4 for sure.
We need to lock them in, right?
Yeah.
Who would be their 5th biggest star? Who they see as a star?
Right.
It would be Becky.
Right.
She'd be the answer, but she's not there. So who is it?
I guess Randy Orton.
It gotta be Orton, right?
Yeah.
It has to be Orton.
Because Reigns is kind of MIA for right now too. So
I don't count Reigns.
Yeah.
He's not there. When he's there, I'll count him.
I guess AJ Styles you could add in there if you really wanted to, but when he's not dying.
When Reigns comes back, he's in that mix. There's no doubt. He's not there. It has to be Orton. You could argue Orton, AJ. This is not an easy exercise.
It's very difficult. Yeah.
We have to be forgetting an obvious one.
I said AJ Styles is one but I don't put him on that level really much anymore. But I guess he's there.
Yeah. You put he's in the. You want to say he's the 5th one? I'm not going to fight with you.
Well, as I said, I think the 5th is way open for interpretation. I think there's like 4 or 5 dudes that you could honestly say. You could say King Corbin, AJ.
Can you say King Corbin?
I mean, they think so. Clearly,
he's not bigger than Orton. They don't see him ahead of Orton, though, right? I don't think they see him ahead of Orton. What about Edge?
I guess. But...
I mean, he's 50 and he's part-time, but...
Right.
He's like 48 or something. Man,
This is so bad.
I'm trying to go through the WrestleMania card.
Right, and try to think of who's, yeah.
Because anyone significant was going to be on the WrestleMania card. Brock's not around. I mean, are we being hard on them because Brock, Becky, Roman, Ronda? I mean, that's not bad. If we're sitting here talking about Brock, Becky, Roman, and Ronda, right, and Undertaker or something, then we're okay. Those are people who could move a number.
Right, but the problem is that, 3 of those people you mentioned are part-time workers, and they're pushed as your biggest stars, and they go away.
Right.
And that's an issue. That's not good.
But, it's like you take them away, and you're like King Corbin's in the mix all of a sudden. How about Gronk?
24/7.
They don't even have Gronk. He's a champ. They don't even have the Gronk. Yeah, this is
It's not good.
It's got to be Orton.
Good.
I'm going with Orton.
That's fair.
That's my final answer. What do you
I'll
think?
allow it. Yeah, whatever.
That's
fine. I don't care.
He's their top 5.
Perfect. Yeah. Oh God.
Well, Rich, as the show gets ground to a halt. Speaking of the brand split, and the elimination of the brand split, I think it would be a perfect time to revive which brand he played for.
Here we go. All right.
After this ad plays.
We don't want to. Yeah. Who the fuck is that? We don't wanna, are they paying us? Whoever it is?
Rich, do you remember the rules of which brand he played for?
Yes, I think so. You're going to name a name, and I'm going to tell you what brand they played for.
Modeled after the game on Inside the NBA, Charles Barkley, who he played for. This is our version called Which Brand He Played For. It could be a he or a she. I will name a WWE wrestler. Rich must tell me which of the brands that wrestler plays for. Are you ready, Rich?
I am ready. Let's go.
Number 1. Bo Dallas. Which brand he play for?
What? All right. When's the last time Bo Dallas has been on TV?
I don't know.
That's not. Yeah, it's not. You're not. You're. That's not your game. You're just. That's okay. All right. Hold on.
It could be Raw. It could be SmackDown. It could be NXT. It could be NXT UK. It could even be 205 Live.
Oh my God! Oh, so I have to. It says 205 Live is considered an additional brand, correct?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Bo Dallas is a Raw superstar. Damn it.
Bo Dallas is a member of the SmackDown brand.
Damn it. All right.
The SmackDown brand. That's okay. I think I'll give you an easy one. Want to get you on the board. How about that? You can't possibly miss this one, Rich. Are you ready?
Okay.
To play which brand he played for? Mark Andrews.
Oh, Mark Andrews. He is an NXT UK superstar.
Ding, 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 ding. We're on the board.
Well, Andrews, yeah. All right.
I gave you a little layup there.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Got to get on the board there. All right.
Are you ready?
Yep, let's go.
We're 1-1, right?
1-1. Yep.
Razor.
This is Razor of Occam and Razor fame, correct? The authors of Pain.
That is correct.
They are Raw superstars.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
Ding, 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 ding,
Damn
ding,
right.
ding.
Let's go.
Now, how did you work your way through
I have
that
no
one?
idea. I just guessed. I have no clue. I feel like I saw them on Raw like 6 months ago, so I'm just kind of going with that. Because one of them got hurt, right? Okay, oh, no, they were in Seth Rollins' little crew for a bit. Right? Or Aleister Black's crew. Someone's crew. They were in a crew. I don't know. I forget whose crew it was.
Paul Heyman's a big fan. So that should have
They
been.
were in a crew. Yeah. You liked them.
Okay, are you ready to play what brand she play for?
Ooh, yeah, let's go.
Ember Moon.
Give me the injured ones. I believe Ember Moon is... That's very loud. Did it just get like 10 times louder? Ember Moon is a SmackDown superstar.
The former Athena.
The former Athena, yes.
The former practitioner of the O-face.
Which never hit properly. Always fucked up by both parties. The O-face.
They can't call it that anymore, Rich.
Believe it or not, they did change that. Yeah, they did change that when she went to the... but I believe... What was my answer? SmackDown. SmackDown superstar for Athena.
Ding, 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 ding,
There
ding,
we
ding,
go.
ding, ding, ding.
Or Ember Moon or whatever the fuck. Who cares?
All right. You're doing well. You're 2, what are you, 3-1?
3-1, I believe. Yeah, I'm cruising here, so...
I got 3 left, so you could end up with a losing record here.
Okay, so it's not official yet, but all right. I'm in good standing right now, but...
If you get one right, you guarantee victory. Are you ready?
Fuck, okay, yeah.
What brand he play for? James Drake.
Ooh. I think, okay, so I know why you did this one. I think most people would say James Drake is an NXT UK superstar, but he is actually an NXT superstar.
Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah,
ding, ding, ding,
there
ding,
we
ding.
go.
Yes, he is officially listed on the NXT roster.
That's a tricky one. I like what you did there. That most people would say NXT UK, but well, not most people, because most people don't know NXT UK exists. But an attuned NXT UK watcher would know that. So,
well, you're 4-1. You want to try to sweep the rest of the board?
yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, we're on a roll here. Let's see. Yeah, let's try to put those numbers up, because I've had some pretty bad who he played for us before. So I need to overall record. I'd like to up it a little bit. So yeah, let's go ahead.
I'll let this one build up. Wait for the song to kick in. Mansoor.
Oh God, what? Well, he's okay. Is Evolve one of the choices or no?
Evolve is not a choice.
Okay, that's fine. Thought I'd try there.
But I like what you did there.
Yeah.
Because I try to get tricky sometimes.
Right. Is
So
the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia a choice?
No, although you could argue that's the brand he's been.
That's right. Okay, so he's he's apparently also on a real brand. Okay.
One of the 5 brands in play.
Mansoor is a SmackDown superstar. Damn it. What?
Mansoor is an NXT.
I guess that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
One left. You're 4-2. You're guaranteed a winning record. You're like a team that has clinched a playoff spot. You might not even have the starters in.
Yeah,
for
the third catchers out there. Like, yeah, it's we're just trying to get some work. A long reliever starting our games. It's we're just cruising into the finals in the playoffs here.
In the gambling world, they call this one a free ball. Okay, there's nothing at risk here, but you can still get it right. Oh, premature musicalation there. Hold on.
It's okay. It happens.
Dana Brooke.
She appeared at unsuccessfully became Mrs. Money in the Bank or Miss Money in the Bank on Sunday.
I think she was she was officially in that match, but Rich, outside of the Stephanie McMahon spot, you wouldn't have known.
Dana Brooke is a Raw superstar.
I just like the song.
Yeah, go ahead. No, let it ride. The tension is palpable. You can cut it with a knife. So
with this professional soundboard. Meaning a YouTube video, I have to let the ad play.
Right. I love that there's options where you could download this song, but the grittiness of you playing it on YouTube and having to let the ads roll is important there. So did I say Raw or Smack? I don't remember what I said. I think I said Raw, didn't I?
You said Raw.
I don't think that's right. I think it's SmackDown, but maybe it's Raw. I don't know. Who the fuck cares?
Well, what is your answer?
Raw was my first answer. I will stick with that as my answer.
She is a SmackDown star, but again, That was a free roll. You were already a winner. 4 correct, 3 incorrect. I believe for the first time ever, Rich was a winner.
There we go. So all you have to do is not watch ever again.
On which brand he played for. Tremendous job.
Thank you.
I don't know what prizes you win, but you are a winner. So you get the song for a couple more seconds. And that's that, because now we're an SNL bit that's running way too long.
Yeah, exactly. It's got too long. All right, let's get to this Money in the Bank. Speaking of an SNL bit that ran way too long, WWE Money in the Bank 2020. Joe, we'll start at the top with this, whatever the fuck this main event was. The dual Money in the Bank ladder matches, both the men and the women fighting for the briefcase at the same time, fighting through the corporate headquarters. The risk, would it be worth the reward? We would find out at Money in the Bank 2020. I mean, when we previewed it last week, we kind of said, hey, at least it's not just a normal match. At least they're trying something different. I was so fucking bored by this within 5 minutes, and it just went on and on and on. And the entire time the match is going on, and I'm curious what your thoughts are going to be as well. I'm thinking, I don't know even what to say about this. What do people want me to say? Like, it wasn't even like, I don't even want to bury it. It was just completely bad and not funny. And, like, in some ways, like, I kind of left thinking, my God, how sad is this? Like, they think this is the funniest shit ever. Like, they're like, it's Doink the Clown. He's there. And it's Brother Love, and he's taking a shit. And it's like, they think it's hilarious, but does anybody else in the universe think it's hilarious? Over the age of 12. It's so bad. I don't know. What do you want to say about what do you want me to say about these matches, Joe? I have no fucking clue how to review these, how to talk about them, what to say. Just one SNL bit that went 40 minutes too long and was never funny at any point.
Look, I think we said that what was the Undertaker AJ Styles thing called?
The Boneyard match.
I think we said the Boneyard match was well done for what they were trying to do. I don't even remember if you liked it or not, but it just wasn't for me. But I concede that they did an okay job with it. It felt like a cheesy B-movie fight scene, which is what they were going for. And I guess the Bray Wyatt thing with Cena, I can't say that, the production wasn't well done or that it didn't pop a huge portion of their fan base and all that. So I kind of get why people like those things, while also, freely admitting that I didn't like them at all because they're not for me. That's not what I want out of my pro wrestling. This Money in the Bank thing, I genuinely don't see what was amusing, funny, or entertaining about it in any way, shape, form whatsoever. Where is the humor? What's funny about any of this? It's like you said, what's the joke when, like, someone in doink paint stares over a chair? Why is that funny?
Right. What's funny about John Laurinaitis showing up and going, "Hi, people power"?
Yeah, why is that? What's the joke?
It's random, I guess, is the joke. It's
Brother Love flushing a toilet. I mean, where's the joke? What's funny? Where is the entertainment factor in a food fight? I mean, unless you're, like, if you're a small child.
Yeah, as I said, if you're under the age of 12 or you're Vince McMahon, that shit's funny. But
maybe you think it's funny that Dana Brooke threw some potato chips at Otis. I don't understand what's entertaining or amusing about any of this. I think it was an idea that could have worked if it was clever, if the cameos were clever, if the jokes were funny. It's like, but none of that was true. None of the jokes were funny. None of this was clever. None of this was smart. None of this was edgy. I mean, what were they? They weren't even trying to be edgy, I guess. What about this was entertaining? About halfway through, you're like looking at your fucking wrist, at your watch, and you're thinking to yourself, this cannot possibly be another half hour long because the show ended a half hour early. So it's like you're thinking to yourself, is this really going to be 40 minutes long? Because this is atrocious. It's not entertaining in any way. It's like, AJ and Daniel Bryan in Vince's office and they're like scared of him and apologetic. And then Dana Brooke doing the thing with Stephanie McMahon, and she's scared of her and apologetic.
The Stephanie thing was so absurd because, like, obviously Stephanie wasn't going to show up for this bullshit. So they filmed it obviously at, like, her house, and it's, like, on a phone. And we're supposed to believe, like, this, like, beautiful HD camera with Dana Brooke. And then it cuts to, Stephanie with a microphone that is on her phone, and it's dark, and she's against a wall, and it's like, oh, my God.
Rich, do you think if they did this same match in 1998, and Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock went brawling into Vince McMahon's office, and he stood up from his chair and berated them, that they would nervously rearrange the chairs in his room and sheepishly walk out of his office?
I tweeted that out when I was watching it. I said wrestlers were bigger stars when they put wheelbarrows full of shit in Vince McMahon's office and made him piss himself. But now they're, oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, sir.
Oh, I didn't know Mr. McMahon was here. Oh no.
Yeah, Stone Cold would have said, what the fuck, kicked him in the nuts, tombstone, or fucking stunnered him, and then filled his office with dog shit or something.
Rich, they would have double teamed him and beat the shit out of him.
They would have put him through a table and then fought each other. They would have said, hold on a minute, we'll fight each other in a minute, but fuck this guy, and put him through a table and make him piss himself, and then they would fight each other again after that.
Which is why they came across as massive stars, among many other reasons. It's not hardly the only reason. I mean, they had superstar charisma and all that. But the idea here being, you had two of these, we didn't even think of Daniel Bryan in our top 5, which is telling. But I guess he'd be in that mix. But the idea being you have two guys who are arguably one of your 5 or 6 biggest stars, and they're just bowing down to Mr. McMahon and being apologetic and acting like cowards, and when they really should have kicked his ass or ignored him and trashed his office. They just should have brawled and trashed his office. But no, they got to be subservient. And the same thing with Dana Brooke with Stephanie. And Stephanie's worse because at least Vince is more than willing to show ass throughout his run as Mr. McMahon. At the end of the day, he's getting his ass kicked. At the end of the day, he's getting humiliated. You might have to sit through some Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club segments or the Trish Stratus barking like a dog, and there's been some bad ones. But at the end of the day, he loses his feuds, and he's made to look like a fucking jerk-off in the process. When has Stephanie ever shown ass in that company?
Never. Literally 0 times ever.
Especially in the modern era.
One time, Brie slapped her, I think, or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's literally it. That's the only one that I can ever remember.
It's like she's nothing like her father in that respect. And that may not be her fault. She's not in charge of the creative.
No, she was for a while. And she didn't do it when she was in charge either. So
correct. But now she's in a different part of the company. But is there still some of that? If she's I'm sure she has some level of control over her stories because she's fucking Stephanie McMahon. So it's
some random writer doesn't hand her a sheet and go, here's what you have to do, Stephanie.
And then Stephanie's like, well, I don't know. And the writer's like, well, you better do it. I mean, that's not how it goes down. So it's like she never shows ass, or at least hasn't since she's been like 20 years old. I guess the very early angles. But I'm talking modern Stephanie McMahon, the character we know today.
She just screeches, slaps, and never gets her comeuppance ever.
Never gets her comeuppance, or very rarely gets her comeuppance. Very rarely, where Vince would always get his comeuppance. But in this scenario, they both were they came across as the stars of the match. Because they're the ones not to be fucked with. Not Otis, not Asuka, not AJ and Brian, who looked like cowards. Those two. So even if you want to seriously break this down, which is really a waste of time, from that perspective, the match didn't work. There wasn't any interesting things that they did with the building. Rich, they did a food fight, and they did a fucking shit joke with Brother Love.
Yeah.
What other interesting things did they incorporate from the building? They did a brawl in the gym that Gargano and Ciampa did a month ago, complete with the same spots, like breaking the mirror.
Yeah. It was a different. I guess it was different because it was the headquarters gym, that kind of old school Vince McMahon gym with all the neon or whatnot. But that's it. That's literally the only difference.
They've already done that, the gym thing, in this company on TV. So that wasn't even fresh or different. Or, they didn't even do special effects or go into the boneyard, side of things. This was just a very boring 10-person or 12-person brawl, whatever it was.
Yeah, they fought over an elevator, though. That was really cool. Yeah.
With bad bed music. Can we get away from the bed music?
I know, dude. I've said it before. I would love to never, ever, 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 ever again hear bed music in a wrestling match. Ever, please.
Yeah, it's just...
That's fucking garbage. Yeah, it's terrible.
I understand they don't know how else to fill the sound. But it's like the bed music kind of worked for the Boneyard match because that was supposed to be...
It was outdoors. It was cinematic. This didn't have that feel to it. Yeah, this felt like you were watching these people fight in a building, but why is there music behind it? It doesn't make sense in that context.
It doesn't. And it was silly because like when something goofy was about to happen, it's like when you're watching a cartoon and the music turns goofy. Like whenever Otis would come on the screen, like the music would
something dumb, and you're like, oh, here we go. Oh yeah,
oh yeah, station weights, yeah, Tucky, and it's like they can't even. They always insist on trying to tell you how you need to feel, instead of just letting you feel, even with something silly like this with the bed music, and then they get up to the top, and you're like, all right, there's 40 minutes left in the pay-per-view. Now we're just going to have 2 Money in the Bank matches happening at once, and this could be kind of interesting, right?
And then 3 of the women actually showed up.
Yeah. So 3 of the women are just, whatever, stuck in an elevator.
Yeah, stuck in an elevator, stuck in a stairwell. Who the fuck knows? So
Baron Corbin hip tosses 2 men to their death, and they make exaggerated splat sounds.
They're fine, though. He didn't even sell. He didn't sell at all the next night.
No.
Not even Rey Mysterio grabbing his shoulder going, yeah, luckily I didn't fall to my death. I fell a few feet, but I'm all right. I don't know if I'll be able to wrestle tonight. He literally says, I feel great, Charlie.
Yeah. Now.
I give up. Come on.
Forget that they showed us the crash pad. Forget that.
Yeah.
Forget that you saw the crash pad. The idea was he hip tossed them off the side of the building.
Right.
And you heard them go splat when they hit the fucking whatever they hit. They never returned. And then they're perfectly fine and tell you they're perfectly fine the next day. Aleister Black is tweeting out a picture of a ghost on Twitter to mock the fact that he was hip tossed over the side of a building and went cascading to his death. Now, like you were saying last week, it would have been better if they just showed a cartoonish special effect.
Yeah, whoa! Yeah, just Aleister Black, reaching for the sky. Oh no! And then
his arm flailing, yeah. And then his broken body on the sidewalk. Like, if you're gonna go camp, just go full camp, But they didn't even fully commit to the bit of these men being hip tossed off the side of the building to their death. And it's like, I see people. The big thing now. Okay, the big thing now is every time these companies do something like this, we got to compare it to DDT, right? Oh, they're doing DDT in America. Well, DDT stinks too. So none of it's good. None of this comedy bullshit is good.
I will. Okay, 1 sec. I will defend DDT on this. That when DDT does funny stuff, I don't love it. I don't go out of my way to watch it, and a lot of times I skip it. But I laugh 1,000 times more with DDT comedy than I do anything with WWE comedy.
Rich. I don't even get DDT comedy because it's for weeaboos who sleep with fucking fuck pillows. I don't understand the jokes.
No, but I think even the in between chords that they hit are way better. I will say that. But I do think your overall point though, we do need to stop just assuming that everything that's like a backstage brawl or funny is DDT. Like they didn't invent, like it happened the other week with the street fight where we had people saying, oh, well, that's obviously DDT influence. And I was like, they've had street fights before.
Yeah. The AEW street fight. People are like,
they brawl backstage, so it's a lot like DDT. I'm like, what? It's the Attitude Era, literally the entire 4 or 5 years of the Attitude Era, every single match they fought backstage.
Well, this is Kenny Omega's fault because he put out that tweet that said,
oh, that's right. It is. Yeah, right.
Who says DDT style can't work in America? It's like, dude, DDT did not invent street fights and no DQ fall count anywhere matches. Okay? Jerry Lawler and the fucking Honky Tonk Man did this in 1976 in Memphis. Okay? So don't fucking, this isn't DDT. This has been a staple in pro wrestling for decades. Decades. Stop attributing this stuff to DDT. I don't care whether you like DDT or you can't stand DDT. Can we stop attributing all this stuff to DDT? They didn't invent street fights. They didn't invent no DQ matches, fall count anywhere. They didn't invent comedy. They didn't invent any of it. Stop calling this stuff DDT. DDT ripped off all these ideas from America. That's where they got the ideas. For God's sake, I can't.
Their owner is a fake Stone Cold cosplayer, you idiots.
This stuff all came from DDT co-opted this shit from the United States. And I don't care whether you like it or you don't. That's not the point. Whether you think they do it better or not is immaterial to me. Stop crediting, no one's copying DDT. None of these people saw this. Vince McMahon did, you know what we need, goddammit? We need to do DDT. Give me a break. That's not what's happening here. Kenny Omega, pump the brakes, buddy. Okay? People were doing fall count anywhere matches long before the Brahmin brothers were throwing bowling balls into each other's nuts. Okay? It's been happening forever. Are they even in DDT? I don't even think they're in DDT. It doesn't matter. God, it's infuriating. Learn some history. My God. Kenny Omega wouldn't know the Tupelo concession brawl if it fucking happened in his backyard. Stop, shut your mouth. I'm standing up, Rich. I didn't think I'd be fired up over this of all things. So anyway, this match stunk. I didn't like any of this. And then Otis and Lady Otis end up winning. So we know why Lady Otis won. That became clear on Raw the next night. But Otis is your Money in the Bank winner. Rich, create your take.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. It's like in the way they had him win, too. It's just all AJ Styles has it. And he just can't. He fumbles the briefcase and it lands in Otis's hands. And Michael Cole goes, Otis controlled the Money in the Bank. He's Mr. Money in the Bank. And I'm just like, God damn, I hate this company so much. Why wouldn't AJ get it if he's the one that unhooked it? Right? Just because he dropped it at some point? I guess if the man who holds it closer to his body, that man is Mr. Money in the Bank?
Well, why did King Corbin and Asuka try to stop each other from getting the briefcase?
Oh, my God. Oh, dear God. Don't even get me started on that.
Like, what was the why wouldn't they
why
just
would
help
King
each
Corbin
other?
not just say, yeah, go ahead, go get it. I'll go get mine and we're good. Cool.
Yeah, why didn't he just he's taller. Why didn't he just unhook both and hand it to her?
Yeah, you want the briefcase? Here you go.
Why does he care who wins? Was this a DDT spot that I don't know about? They're ripping off again.
It's the first time a heel has been mean to a soon-to-be babyface. So, yeah, DDT.
Did Antonio Honda and the inflatable panda gimmick climb a ladder and fight over an invisible gun or something? Was this another DDT ripoff spot? I don't know. But that made no sense. And then Otis wins the case. And I know a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but there's some people who are up in arms saying that Otis, Rich, is ruining the sanctity of the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That's it. Now it means nothing anymore, Joe. It's over.
Now, let me tell you something.
Next, he's going to win a title, and then titles aren't going to mean anything in this company anymore. My God.
Who is a bigger Otis detractor on planet Earth than me? Can you think of one?
I literally cannot, no.
Who gives a shit who has the money?
Yeah.
It does
David
not
Sandow once had it. Right?
It does.
It lost. He cashed it and lost. Like, it's a geek briefcase. Who cares?
It does not fucking matter who holds this briefcase. It does not matter who wins that title. None of this matters in this company. Results do not matter in this company. Mandy is going to screw him out of the fucking briefcase anyway. We all know that's what's going to happen. And that's a great idea, and it should happen. You know? That's the only way that story can conclude is with her turning on him, right? I mean, why? What else is the point of the story? You know, George Animal Steel didn't ride off with Elizabeth into the sunset and fuck her and have 6 kids, okay? She went back to the Macho Man, all right? Fucking, Kelly doesn't end up with Balls Mahoney.
No, I haven't watched. I'm still making my way through the WWE ECW rewatch, so no spoiler alerts. But
hey, listen, November to remember, we'll get to that storyline.
2077, you will talk about Balls Mahoney and Kevin Kelly.
And I'm going to get Kelly,
Kevin Kelly.
And I'm going to get Lagana on to talk about it. How about that? Since the man wrote it, but I think he wrote that. Didn't he say?
I think so. Yeah. He slid in the DMs. I think to tell us he wrote it once before. So
something like that. But you know. It's like she can't end up with Otis. The only the only story you can tell is the hot girl eventually rejects the ogre, right? The babyface, sympathetic ogre. And she fucks Dolph Ziggler or something. She's not going to fuck him. This is awesome kind of, she's got to go heel. Okay, the story here is not that the hideously unattractive ogre gets the hot girl. He has to not get the girl. That's how you relate it to your audience. Because your audience is not a bunch of fucking Dolph Zigglers. Your audience is a bunch of Otises. And you want them to feel hatred you want them to feel sympathy for Otis. Otis can't get the girl in the end. That's not the right story. Right? Am I coming off cruel here? I don't know. But it doesn't matter. The point here is it doesn't matter that Otis has this briefcase. It doesn't matter if he doesn't get screwed out of it. It doesn't matter if he wins the title. None of this matters. The results in this company do not matter. I mean, that is the ultimate. You need to take a deep breath and reassess if you're genuinely upset that Otis won the Money in the Bank fucking briefcase. I don't think that's any of our audience.
No, I would hope that all of our listeners are smart enough to not give two shits about who is Mr. or Mrs. Money in the Bank. So I hate that term so much.
Yeah.
Otis is Mr. Money in the Bank. God.
I just had enough of Otis. I just can't take. I don't care what titles or briefcases. I just want him gone.
This was the match. Like I haven't hated him as much as you have. This match though, you could tell because that Vince McMahon thinks is the funniest fucking shit in the world too. Because he was front and center on every second of this match. There isn't a second of this match that didn't go by where you didn't know that Otis was nearby, about to be nearby, or about to be the focus. He was the central focus of this match, and that is not good. That is really bad, but
yeah.
Ooh, pie. It's like, God damn it.
Oh yeah. Fuck.
It's so bad.
There's people who enjoy this.
I know. What do they? I honestly think about this. Like, what do those people? Again, like I'm speaking to a hypothetical because I hope that nobody listening to this enjoys this stuff. But if you do, at Voices Wrestling on Twitter, what else do you watch? What other media? What other entertainment do you consume?
I know.
Yeah.
DDT.
I don't think that's the case.
Oh, come on. Like Otis wouldn't fit in like a glove in DDT.
I think the Venn diagram of people that enjoy Otis and also enjoy DDT is not a circle, Joe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but they would. Okay, all right. You're telling me Otis isn't a DDT gimmick?
Well, get Quiet Storm over there and let's find out, man. It's just basically the same guy. Just take his shirt off and make him a little bit more ridiculous, and we're basically there.
What? Quiet Storm is a serious professional.
No, I'm saying if he took his shirt off and went in DDT, he'd be the same way. He grunts and snarls and shit.
I'm not saying Quiet Storm can't do that gimmick, but he doesn't do that gimmick. I mean, he's got those comically short limbs and he does grunt a lot, but he's not look, Otis is something DDT would do. It would fit right in. It seems obvious to me. I mean, I don't know. Is that you're being oddly silent? Like you don't want to incur the wrath.
I don't know, man. I don't watch enough DDT to know if Otis. He probably would be. He'd probably be over in DDT.
You can't see them holding like the imaginary gun to him and like him like making grunting sounds and you can't picture a match between him and Dino.
I can. I just don't think the people that I'm speaking to, I don't think are. I'm talking about like the in earnest like WWE fans that are defending Otis in our mentions and that sort of stuff. What else they watch? Like I mean mostly like for these matches in general. Like people that found Bruce Pritchard taking his shit funny. What else do you watch in your normal life? Like what other shows do you consume besides wrestling?
Yeah,
that you think that's funny that Doink the Clown, a man in a Doink wig appeared next to a chair, and that's hilarious to you. Like, what else do you watch?
Wasn't that guy wearing like a fucking button-up office shirt?
Yeah, he had like glasses on and yeah, it wasn't even supposed to be Doink the Clown. It was supposed to be a man dressed up like Doink or something.
Yeah, and they never went back to it. It was just a guy in the office in Doink paint, and then it wasn't even supposed to be Doink. Like, they didn't get Steve Lombardi, right? Which they easily could have done, right? They could have gotten Steve Lombardi to do Doink, but no, it was just some guy in a fucking button-up shirt with Doink paint. And then they played clown music for a second, and he went away, and they never went back to it. What is funny about that? Someone explain what's funny about that.
Yeah, what's funny about that, and what else do you watch? Like, what other? I want to know what else is on your dial. You know, when you're dial, what a fucking ridiculous old term that I used it.
But don't you think there would have been a way for them to do genuinely funny cameos and incorporate them into the match? Like, okay, you know the Sports Center commercials where randomly there's just like mascots walking around working,
right? Yeah,
and it's amusing. It's kind of funny. Or like there's an athlete working in the cubicle next to the Sports
right,
Center.
Right. Like the one that I always love is Scott Van Pelt steals LeBron's King James or whatever, and he's got this giant chair or whatever, and it's gold plated or whatever. And LeBron's like, "Hey, did you steal my chair?" And he's like, "No, I don't know where you got that idea, LeBron." It's like he's in a giant king, and it's like, again, it's a nice little humor. And LeBron's like, "All right," and he just goes and sits back on his normal desk chair and kind of like,
LeBron comes to work, and he goes in his chair, but it's like a regular desk chair.
Right, he sits in it and he's like, "This isn't right. This
doesn't feel right." So he goes to the next cubicle, and Scott Van Pelt's sitting in a gold plated throne.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Scott, did you switch chairs?" And it's funny because in real offices, people switch chairs, and so you see the obvious joke there. He's like, "No, I don't know, LeBron. I don't know what happened to your chair." And he's sitting in the man's fucking throne. Like, there's things they could have done along those lines that may have been humorous or funny or amusing, and they did nothing of the sort. Nothing they did was humorous or funny or amusing. I don't know what's funny about Brother Love flushing a toilet. I don't know. Brother Love took a shit, and Rey Mysterio Jr., like, he didn't even see the shit. He just heard the man flush a toilet. Like, they didn't even do that unfunny joke properly, right? Shouldn't they have brawled into the stall that he come out of, and then they
right? And they're like, "Ooh, sminky! Oh, it smells!" Yeah, they didn't even do that. He just heard a thing flush. He could have just taken a piss,
Yeah,
who knows, man? Fucking garbage.
Horrible. What a horrible match. What a horrible segment of this fucking podcast. And I just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, let me like as quickly as possible. Let's go over the rest of these things. Fucking
we gotta do the rest of the card.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre defeated Seth Rollins, retained the title.
Okay, stop. You need to stop. This is the point in a WWE review segment where Rich just gets frustrated.
I'm done. I'm over it. Come on,
and
let's
there's
go.
no more. The effort level is gone. He has no interest in breaking anything down. I try my best to revive it. It doesn't work, and he just wants to because you could hear the tone in his voice. This happens every time we preview or review a WWE pay-per-view. Rich, there are many people who think that Drew McIntyre Seth Rollins was a great match. You didn't think it was a great match?
It's fine. It was okay.
I didn't think it was great either. I thought it was very good. I thought they worked hard.
For the circumstances, I thought it was as good as you can. Not as good as you can do in an empty arena, but pretty damn good for an empty arena, I should say.
For WWE empty arena, I think it was pretty good. But I couldn't pull the trigger and go Notebook on it. But yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Braun Strowman defeating Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship.
Do you have the energy to bury this or no?
I really don't. Yeah, I really don't. I mean, essentially all you need to know is for 10 minutes they had a normal match, and then weird puppets showed up, and then it became not normal, and then Braun just beat him, and then it was over. Except for they also did the thing where Braun had a mask, because it was the old Wyatt family mask. And then Bray Wyatt said, "You finally come home. I knew you would." And then Braun said, "No," and stomped on it and beat him.
So,
I don't care.
Like, obviously, look, this was atrocious. This was
fucking
arguably
garbage. All the wrestling in it was horrible, just horrid, just so bad. I honestly would have given them more respect if they just immediately went into the campy bullshit right away. Don't even humor me with 5 minutes of wrestling. You're not wrestling. You know you're not trying to be wrestling. Just go right to the bullshit and get it over with quicker, please.
Yeah. But what about the idea that Braun basically beat Bray at the psychological game? So, well, then what's the point of Bray? right? Rich couldn't give two fucks about
You're right.
Braun.
No, I mean, I'm thinking
And
about it. Yeah, I don't give a shit. But also, yeah, you can't, because like that was his the whole thing that Bray Wyatt has, that he's not a better wrestler than you, but he gets in your brain and works your mind into and pulls it in very different directions, and you don't know what you believe in anymore and all that sort of stuff. And then Braun just said, "Nah, I don't fucking care," and then stomps the mask and beats him. So. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where you go from here with Bray, but
where you go from there is he has to face the Fiend.
Oh, you're right. This was just against Bray.
Yeah, he's got to face the Fiend.
I didn't think of that.
And the Fiend is going to convince him to let me in. That's what's going to happen.
The best part about all this Bray Wyatt shit is it's so bad, but you just know that Bray just watches it back that night and it's just like, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, I nailed it. Like, yeah, the puppet came and then he stopped the mask. Oh yeah, like they just think it's the greatest shit. You know what I mean?
His arms around JoJo, he's proud.
Yeah,
and he's like telling her, "Now
pauses.
wait,
okay, so this thing goes. So the reason Braun has this mask, honey, is because when he was in the Wyatt, and she knows. You know what I mean? She's like rolling her eyes, scrolling on Instagram, like, yeah. He's like, yeah, so he used to be in the Wyatt family, and that's the mask he wore. Okay, yeah, okay.
This is totally like when I watched Sopranos with TLB right. and describe the storylines in extreme detail, and she's just like, "Can you unpause it now? Can we finish the episode?" That is Bray Wyatt describing his storylines to a very disinterested JoJo. You're absolutely right. And she's just, at this point, she's fucking with her phone, or she's pretending the baby is crying to escape the room. Because she doesn't want to hear this shit either.
Oh, she's full in like Instagram story looking. Like she's just like tap, like just going nuts or scrolling up and down the account, maybe liking a few things. But yeah, she's, not even, looks up occasionally and goes, yeah, okay. And then the puppet shows up and then the puppet's bloody, but then Braun is, it's just like, it's so bad. It's so terrible.
Well, he will be the Fiend.
You're right. I didn't think of that. Yeah.
And Braun will let him in. Could you imagine playing back these reviews, like going back in time and playing these reviews for us in like 2013? Like, what? Let him in? The Fiend? What? But that's what this, and people like this shit. There's people who genuinely, when it comes to the Fiend, think this shit is brilliant and think that this is great pro wrestling.
And they are on Reddit. So, hi, Reddit folks. So.
Yeah, and I mean...
breaking down, the reason Braun Strowman wore the black mask. We get it, dude. We understand. We don't need you to tell us. Like, we got it.
I mean, God, watch...
We got it up, Rocks. We got
it.
We know. We get it. It's not that exciting.
Watch anything else. I mean, try a little Mid-South. Go watch a little All Japan from 1992. You want to see some... I mean, geez. You can't think that this is great if you've... I don't understand. I mean, like what you like, but God, this Fiend stuff is...
Well, speaking of not understanding what happened, Bayley defeats Tamina, SmackDown Women's Championship. This was so bad. How bad was this match?
I thought that this was way better than I thought it was going to be. I was pleasantly surprised. I don't think it was good, but I thought it was passable. I thought it was a perfectly average match. I thought that, at any point during a Tamina match, it can fall apart badly. And it almost did a couple of times, but I don't think that it ever crossed that line. And I think that I was stunned at how not bad this was. So, how about that for an alternate
perspective? There you go. Wow, yeah. All right. So,
I mean, look again. I wasn't scrambling for the notebook. And
I was going to say, I don't think the pen got clicked during this, but that's fine.
I didn't click the $7 pen, but I watched this match and I thought that wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad match. The finish got a little wonky, and Tamina wasn't super smooth during the finish, but I think during the meat of the match, Tamina came across like a monster, and I think that was the idea, at minimum. I'm not grading on a hard scale here. They accomplished, I think, what they set out to accomplish at a minimal level. And I thought that this had train wreck written all over it, particularly in front of an empty arena. So I was actually pleasantly surprised at how this all turned out.
Bobby Lashley, R-Truth. This, for people that did not see this, essentially R-Truth was supposed to face MVP, and then MVP got replaced by Bobby Lashley, but R-Truth doesn't know that Bobby Lashley and MVP are different because he's Stupid, Joe. So when he lost backstage, he said, "Wow, MVP, he lost. He gained some weight."
So I tell you, it's
I'm in stitches, Joe. I can't even contain my
gut-busting
laughter.
humor. Gut-busting humor. R-Truth too, just so unfunny. I it's just people go nuts for the R-Truth stuff. I don't think it's funny either. No fun, Lanza. Fine, call me whatever you want, but I don't find it humorous at all. I don't know. I think things that are funny are funny.
Yeah, I like comedy is funny. Funny movies are funny. Stand-up comedy that's funny is funny. Funny stuff. I think funny stuff's pretty funny, but yeah, that's me. So funny TV shows are pretty funny. So that's just me though. Fatal 4-way tag team match for the SmackDown tag team titles. New Day, they retain the titles. They defeat the Forgotten Sons, Miz and Morrison, and Lucha House Party. Joe, I thought this was a hell of a match. Far and away the best match on the show, I think.
Either this or Drew and Seth.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they'd probably be neck and neck for me, maybe tied. But I thought this was really, really good action between all these guys.
They went out there and killed it. I mean, they went out there and it was all action. The one thing I'll say about the match is they just missed the peak. And I know that's weird to say when there's no fans to really peak it, but you know what I mean. Like if they would have ended the match, they went a little too long because they had to work in the Jackson Riker spot where he gets ejected.
Okay, hold on a minute. Hold on. About that spot.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going. It's a no DQ, right? Because they tell you all the time, well, Fatal 4-Way is a no DQ. And Corey Graves says it 1,000 times during this match that, well, Fatal 4-Way, there's no DQ. Why the fuck would Jackson Riker go away? Why wouldn't he just say, fuck off, ref, I don't care?
Well,
why didn't he just roll in the ring and beat up everybody else? And let the referee tell him, hey, get out of here, and just say, fuck you. I'm not going anywhere.
It's because pro wrestling is fucking stupid.
Yes, okay.
And you have to suspend your logic sometimes. But yeah, dumb. Very dumb. But if they didn't, like whenever there's a 4-way match or something like this and there's a manager on the outside, they have to do a spot where the manager gets thrown out.
Yeah, they've done that now. They go to that well every single time now. That's become the new barricade. The guy getting speared through the barricade is the manager gets sent to the back thing is just way overdone in all wrestling right now.
So they did that big dive spot and then they threw Riker out. But if they had ended the match not 5 minutes earlier, but like 1 or 2 minutes earlier when it had peaked inside the ring, I may have flirted with going notebook on this, but it went a little too long, and it just went too long. It's just one of those matches that went a little too long. But otherwise, they worked real hard. I thought that it had a real hard pace, which was nonstop, and and it wasn't just your turn, my turn, roll out of the ring. It just felt like there were bodies flying around all over the place. I enjoyed it. The show got off to a real good start.
And then I assume you didn't go onto your award-winning WWE Network earlier in the night to watch Jeff Hardy and Cesaro, right?
No, people tell me that I should.
I've heard it's good, but yeah, I'm not gonna watch that. Sorry.
Rich, I watch a lot of wrestling. It's like I can't muster the enthusiasm to go back and watch a 16-minute empty arena WWE pre-show match. I can't. I don't know.
There's literally an unobtainable amount of wrestling that I would like to watch. You know what I mean? Like there's so much stuff that I've never watched, companies I've never watched, wrestling from countries I've never seen, great matches, there's never in ever in my life would I say, oh man, I gotta go check out the 16-minute empty arena WWE match. Even if it was good, I'm sorry. There's just too much else that I want to watch. So sorry.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I gotta watch Zero-1 for God's sake, so I don't have time for this. So that's going to be Money in the Bank 2020. So I'd really like to stop watching WWE, but I wish they're getting so absurd that I think I can maybe sell it to you one of these days that they're so absurd that they're not pro wrestling anymore, but they're close enough where we still have to talk about them.
It's a parody of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
It's a parody of pro wrestling is what it is. I didn't see as much praise for the Money in the Bank thing as I did for the other.
No, I think everybody kind of agreed that it sucked. Like that it was. I really expected on Sunday to open up Twitter and it just be like, oh my god, that was great, or how different that was, or how unique. I think everybody kind of realized, and maybe everyone's realizing that all this that WWE is pretty bad at the cinematic shit. That they got kind of lucky with the Boneyard match, and people lied to themselves about the Wyatt thing. But like, really, when you get down to it, it's not very good.
Yeah. it didn't have either. Now, there were people who got mad at me for saying that I didn't even come down that hard of it on Twitter. I just basically said, I don't know what you want me to say. It's not entertaining. And there were some people who came into the mentions, but it wasn't like when we buried the other cinematic stuff and people were just like wanting us dead. It wasn't the same level of vitriol. So I don't know. I don't think this one was as well received even by the hardcore WWE crowd as the other ones were.
All right, let's quickly, we'll jump over to Japan here with the rest of the topics for the day. First one, New Japan Pro Wrestling reopening plan here is, so Harold May, New Japan president, released a video a few days ago presenting a, quote, roadmap for live events returning, and provided some additional updates as well for New Japan. He said, first off, that performers have had a chance to rest and heal because, of course, New Japan has not run a show since coronavirus started popping up, while as most other companies in Japan have run something. New Japan has run nothing. He did say that New Japan World subs have not fallen significantly, and online merch sales are still positive. Do you buy that? Like, I don't see any reason why he would lie, right?
About what?
About the New Japan subs not falling?
I mean, I don't know enough about it, but I think Bushiroad is publicly traded in Japan. Now, I don't know enough about their laws. If they were an American company, I'd say he can't say that because he can get in huge trouble for that. If it works the same in Japan, then that can't be a lie, or he'd really be
right.
risking a ton by just by making just some little minor face-saving comment that really no one cares about anyway. He'd be risking a lot. So if it works the same in Japan as it does here, then no, he's not lying.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that'd be cool, but I'm surprised that there isn't more people, falling off. Like, I know I haven't, because it's like, whatever, who cares? It's $9 or whatever.
I haven't unsubscribed, but I really haven't used it either. But the reason I haven't unsubscribed is I feel like it's going to be too much of a hassle to resubscribe.
Yeah, I've been since day one, so it's like, whatever, man. It's fine. Just keep it.
I just want to leave it alone. Like, I'm afraid with it being a Japanese service that I'm going to have trouble re-up. I just leave it alone. I don't want to deal with it. So I just leave it there. It's only fucking $9 or whatever.
Right, and they've done a decent job with the new content they've had, but like you're saying, I haven't logged into that thing once. I've logged into All Japan, obviously, to watch the new stuff. I've logged into Dragon Gate. I've logged into everything else. But yeah, I haven't once logged into New Japan World since they haven't done live shows.
Neither have I, but there might be a point where I want to go watch a match. And I just think it's easier and more convenient to keep the sub than...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
I don't even know how to cancel. I wouldn't even know how to cancel. Because I've just had it from day one, and then I'd be worried about getting back in, because there's other Japanese services where I've had trouble subscribing, and I'm not patient enough to look for the answers, and I just throw my hands. I don't want to deal with it, so I'd rather just stay subscribed.
Yeah, take my $9 and whatever.
$9.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like, I don't care. But anyway.
First step to return to live events is empty arena shows when the state of emergency restrictions are lifted. So there's a little bit of a caveat there. So he says the first step to return is empty arena shows, but that is when the state of emergency restrictions are lifted.
Yeah.
Now, you and I kind of, and people have asked me a ton of times on the Q&As that we do on Patreon. You and I have talked about this before. I'm of the mindset that you've waited this long without doing empty arena shows. Why not wait another month or 2 or 3 or whatever? Like, if realistically you can have shows with fans by, I'm just throwing a date out here, I'm not saying anything in particular, but say by August, July, they say, you know what, you can have fans, they have to sit 6 feet apart, you can only have 50% capacity or whatever, but you can have fans. I would rather New Japan return like that than return to do empty arena, because you've already waited till halfway through May. You've already said that when the state of emergency restrictions are lifted and all that sort of stuff is lifted, why would you go and do that? Now why wouldn't you have just run empty arena these last 2 months then? If you're going to do it again, like the optics, to me, I don't like the optics of New Japan running empty arena. Not when you've waited this long.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Unless they have to fulfill some television obligations that we don't know about, which, to be honest, which is why I figured the smaller companies in Japan were running empty arena, because I figured they just needed content to fulfill television obligations. Otherwise, what's the point? I remember way back at the beginning of this when companies were talking about running empty arena, and I was like, why? Why would you run shows? The whole point of pro wrestling is to draw money. So why are you running shows if you can't draw money? It's a waste of time. But then I figured, oh, well, they might have TV deals over there, and they have to provide content to these, Gaora or whoever, all the various networks. So that's kind of why I figured these companies were running. Otherwise, there's really no point. or even from the perspective of, well, we're paying our wrestlers anyway, we may as well put them to work. That just sounds cruel if you're not deriving any income from it. So I don't know. I don't see the point here. Is it just do they feel like this has gone on long enough and they need to, assuming they don't need to run because of television obligations, which they would have been running if that was the case, right? So it's like, then why run? Is it just, do they feel like this has gone on to the point where they need to get back fresh in people's minds? So people
right. They don't want out of sight, out of mind. The people will forget about us if we're not. Yeah, I guess, but
I don't agree with that. I think if they waited until they're allowed to have crowds and had a show, it'd be the biggest fucking thing in Japan, pro wrestling wise. Because the anticipation and the fact that they haven't run makes it even more special. So unless there's a business reason to run, I don't understand the point of running. And that goes for any of these companies. WWE and AEW have a business reason to run. Their existence is at stake. I get it. UFC, same thing. Their company's in the shitter. They need that revenue badly. The pay-per-view revenue and everything else. If New Japan doesn't have any business obligations to fulfill, what's the point of running?
Right. If you tell us that New Japan World, subscriptions are fine, then why do we need to have empty arena dojo shows?
Right. You've even gone out of your way to say that the one revenue stream you still have is doing okay. So you can't even come at me from that angle. Oh, well, we got to get these subs back up. You just told me the subs are doing fine. So either that's a lie or there's some other business reason, because otherwise there's no reason to do this. I don't understand it. And I'm just working under the assumption that the other Japanese companies are fulfilling television obligations, because if they're not, and they're just running for shits and giggles, I don't understand that either. It doesn't make any sense. Just go dark until you're allowed to come back then. So I don't get the empty arena thing unless it's required for your continued existence.
Yeah, I wonder because you've waited this long, so what changed from the last month and a half to this week then? Is it just it's gone on long enough and we're not confident when we're going to have people again, and we don't want to be, gone for 8 months? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, but it's so weird now that you've waited this long. What changed? What changed in the last week or so that now made you say, you know what, we'll do? And they're not saying that they're going to do them like right away. They're saying when the state of emergency restrictions are lifted, that's when they're going to run the empty arena shows. And we don't know when that's going to be. And we don't know if that's ever, it's going to be June, July, August, September, whatever that's going to be. But at that rate, I just don't understand why now you're going to run empty arena stuff. Because
obviously, now this is getting to the point I'm going to make. They have to be making money off it in some way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. Because you look at it logically, if you're not making money off it, then there's no reason to do it. These are businesses. So I just need to figure out, or someone needs to get to the bottom of, how are they going to make money off these empty arena shows? Because they're still paying their employees and their wrestlers. They're losing money. And now maybe they're figuring, okay, we need to start bringing in some kind of income, outside of the over-the-top subscriptions and whatever merch we're selling.
Yeah, right. Which is, again, and that would be my one thing is okay, we want to increase New Japan World subs. That's fine. Okay, that makes all the sense in the world. You're saying that they're not falling significantly, but maybe you're saying, hey, look, if we run shows, maybe we'll get a bunch of new people that will subscribe to us. I don't know if I believe that, though, because if we look at the precedent set by other empty arena wrestling, I don't know. And people don't really love empty arena wrestling. We've seen that, right. Especially if you're going to do it domestically and worldwide or whatever. The American audience has showed you that they don't really care for empty arena wrestling, whether it be WWE, whether it be All Japan or AEW or anything like that. So there's that. And then they say that the merch sales are still positive. So it's that's the other thing that I'm thinking is they want to sell some merch. They want you to just say, hey, here's Sonata, and hey, Sonata's got a new t-shirt at New Japan World. Go to the website and buy that, which, again, that makes sense. But you told me right there that online merch sales are still positive. So the two things that I have questions about, you say are fine. So now it's okay, well, then what? What's the difference?
Yeah, there's got to be a money trail here for them to do this complete 180 on it and decide that they're going to do empty arena. Now, look, I don't care what their reason is. I'll watch it. That's a different discussion. I mean, of course I'll watch it. My preference, just from a selfish viewer standpoint, is that they wait until they can have fans. Because I think it's kind of cool that they're the only place that hasn't run. Well, they're not. They're Ring of Honor and
yeah. But in Japan, it's cool. Like, because and that's the thing. Like, Tanahashi said that not that long ago when they did the the meeting with the leaders or whatnot. And he said, "Well, I want New Japan to be like the thing that when everybody knows that we're back, New Japan Pro Wrestling is back, and the crowds are going to be there and all this." And now that's kind of gone.
It's gone. I mean, even if you just run shows with essentially exhibition matches, young lions, squashes, nothing that matters too much to the overall canon of the promotion or the storylines, you're still taking something away from the big return because you weren't completely gone. You're blowing your return on some dopey empty arena show, and it's like that does take some of the edge off of a big return in front of fans. Now, if they need to do this for some sort of business reason for their survival, I can't knock them for it. If their television partners are telling them that they need content or want content or are going to pay them for content, or I don't even know what they're running in their time slot right now for the last 2 months since they haven't run any shows, then yeah, I understand it. And if it can bring in a little income when they're really not making any other significant income, since they're basically a live event company, which is still the meat of their business is tickets. So I get it. I get it if, the Bushi Road, if the guys in that room are like, hey, listen, we got to find a way to bring a little more money in.
Right.
I understand it. I get it. You got to do what you got to do. So I'm not going to get on them. For the same reason I don't get on AEW or WWE. I get it. So but I would prefer if they could hold out until there's fans, because I really think that would be special. But, reality steps in. And, it looks like that's the direction they're moving in. How about Harold May? Did you watch the video?
I did. Yeah, I fell asleep during it, but I did watch it, yes.
Yeah, Harold, can we get to the point, please? He's droning on for 9 minutes. He could have done that in 3 minutes. I mean, geez. But
he is definitely a business executive. Like you've met Harold May before. You know what I mean? Like Harold May has come to your store, or you've been to a Christmas party or whatever, and he is just the most monotone. He's very clearly a business executive. Where
I mean, we've all worked for that.
The worst guy to talk to at the party.
Yeah.
You just cannot wait for something to happen so you can end the conversation with him and move on and say, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back though. And then obviously you hopefully never go back and talk to him. So.
A guy so far up the chain that it really doesn't matter if you make a positive or negative impression on him because he doesn't know your name. Like, that's the kind of guy he is. We all have that guy in whatever company we work for, where there's the one big boss where the impression you make on him really fucking matters, right? And you're nervous. But then there's someone above him who it really doesn't matter. Like, he's detached from the reality of the business. Like, he don't know who you are anyway. And he doesn't really care. That's like what this video was like. Like, he's sitting here talking about these pieces of merch that are selling well. Nobody cares. Get to the point.
Let's bring it home, Harold. Bring it home. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, jeez. But then he's like, you got this huge company, Bushi Road, and this New Japan, second biggest wrestling company in the world. He's holding up like a fucking paper diagram.
Ripping pieces off.
And ripping off pieces of tape to reveal like the next. Like, does anyone in that company like know how to run PowerPoint? I mean, what's happening here?
Screen share. Can we get a screen share here? Can we get a PowerPoint? Yeah, what are we doing?
This was like the Wayne's World gimmick from 1988, like on Saturday Night Live, where they'd have the board up and he would literally rip off a piece of paper to reveal the next thing on the list. Like, God, this came off low rent. It was charming in a way, but I was hoping it would malfunction. I was hoping like he'd rip off like the tape and like two of them would come off and it would like blow the spot for the next point he was going to make. But if you haven't seen that video, don't. Big waste of time.
Right. We summed up all the parts that are matter. He does say that the next step is bringing fans back. And that will occur when the wrestlers and staff are tested. Fans are subject to temperature checks. Masks will be mandatory, and arenas will be thoroughly disinfected and ventilated, noting the elimination of smoking areas. No more gross smokers in these arenas, Joe. Along with space between seats to meet social distancing standards, with half-capacity shows at first. So, about what we'd expect. I mean, obviously you're not going to get 10,000 people in an arena right away, but that's fine. It's just it's what everyone's doing these days. So
any fans in the building is gonna be such a dramatic change in atmosphere. I mean, just on Dynamite this week, where they had people scattered around the building in different sections, right? And there was that audible buzz going on during the show.
Oh, they did a great job. They gave the guys noisemakers, like, what's his face had like bricks or something like that. They've gotten it. AEW has figured it out, man.
And WWE is so stubborn. I mean, they need to put 50 to 100 people in that dopey little performance center, all spread out to make some noise. There's no reason it shouldn't be done. I mean, it just helped Dynamite's atmosphere exponentially, But, so when you start putting partial fans in these arenas in Japan, it's going to make such a difference. Just when I go back and watch older stuff from this year and there's fans in the crowds, it's like, at first you're like, whoa, oh yeah, this is what wrestling is supposed to sound like. This is really cool, But, I don't know. There's got to be a financial benefit to it. There has to be. So, I really don't see any upside otherwise. I don't think things like, I don't think New Japan needs to stay fresh in people's minds. We know they're there.
Right, exactly. Yeah. At this point, you've waited. People will wait another month and a half or 2 months or whatever. The only thing I would say is if they have the indication that, look, things are not going to be back to normal, you're not going to be able to have fans in your show for another year or whatever, then at that point say, hey, look, we've been told that we're probably not going to have fans for a year, so we're going to restart because we want to provide you entertainment and provide you the stars of New Japan Pro Wrestling or whatever. Like, I get that. If you get that news, I get it. But if you're saying, hey, we're working at the next steps, we're working our way, it's going to be a few step pattern, skip the empty arena step and just go right to the step where fans are back.
Yeah, we're a step away from partial fan participation.
Right. Let's wait then. Unless it's a year out, then let's just skip this in between step and wait for the fan back step.
I agree. If the government was telling them a year, yeah, you just got to get back at it. But we're like a month away from letting fans in. So what's the rush to do some dopey empty arena show? Unless there's a money trail. There's a money trail here somewhere. It's obvious.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, none of these companies that's what we tried to reiterate last week, and I think we did a pretty good job of it because I didn't hear a lot of pushback. Is all these companies would love to say, hey guys, stay home, we're going to pay you all your money, and we'll wait till things are back, but that's just completely unrealistic. Someone somewhere is saying, hey Harold, what's going on? And he's going, hey, well, the thing, hey, I can't do anything, and they're going, yeah, Harold, we know, but like, yeah, that conversation is happening with every company. Every company is going through that same conversation. It would be great if we could all, as we said last week, go home, sit, wait, but that's just not unrealistic. Fox, USA, TNT, Bushiroad, Samurai TV, whoever it is, these companies have to answer to somebody, and you got to come up with a solution. When you get that call that says, hey, what are you doing about this? You can't just say, well, coronavirus. It doesn't work anymore. It'd be nice if it did, but no one's in the position to do that. So,
well, especially in the case of Bushiroad, where they can say, well, all of these other companies are running empty arena and presumably making some kind of money off of it, whether it's fulfilling television obligations or being paid to do the shows, whatever the case may be. They're not running for shits and giggles. They're not running for your entertainment. They're running because there's a benefit there somewhere. So Bushiroad's probably looking at that and saying, well, even though we're able to absorb this more than these others, it'd be nice to bring in a little extra cash as well. So I fail to believe that there's not some money trail here. There has to be. Particularly when you're very close to being able to charge fans anyway. I really wish they'd just hold off. But again, I'm not in the room.
Right. I don't know who's saying what or who's telling them to do what. Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, it's, without being in that business room and without,
I don't know what their books look like.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what benefit there is to doing the empty arena. But just from a fan perspective, it'll undoubtedly take the edge off of the big return. It won't have the same panache that it would have had before.
All right, so let's get to some of these other shows here. So we got 3 things that we're going to talk about. Dragon Gate's King of Gate, which is a big tournament starting tomorrow, actually. We're recording this on the 14th, starting the 15th. 2AW, Joe, you have kept up on your 2AW. You got to keep up with 2AW. It's a pandemic, man. You got to watch your, formerly known as Kaintai Dojo. And also Zero-1, a Zero-1 show that you and I both watch. What do you want to start with here?
Let's do the 0-1. We both saw that, right?
Yes.
So,
yep.
You did not see any of the 2AW, correct?
I have not caught up in my active advance or whatever the fuck wrestling. I forget what it's called. Yeah.
Listen, I am on top of the active advanced pro wrestling, sir.
Right.
You cannot.
You can't skip active advanced pro wrestling. Not during one of these times. Yeah.
I have not fallen behind on my active advanced pro wrestling, but 0-1 had themselves a little show here with a big title match on top. Kohei Sato defending against Chris Weiss. I'll say something about 0-1, and I know this is low-hanging fruit, and I know it's going to come off hack, but in the case of both 0-1 and active advanced pro wrestling, the atmospheres aren't that much different. It's like a typical 0-1 show wasn't going to have that many more people.
Right, there maybe was 60 to 80 more people at an actual 0-1 show as opposed to this.
Or active advanced show. Like,
right.
Okay, you're talking about 300 people versus the 40 or 50 people meandering around, photographers, other wrestlers, production people. It's really not that drastic of a, like, the difference between WWE and why it comes off so poorly is you're going from 8,000 people every Monday to 0.
Right, exactly. Yeah, whereas you watch a 0-1 show and it doesn't feel like it's this unbelievable. It's not hitting you over the head that there's nobody there.
I mean, a lot of times these 0-1 shows have no atmosphere anyway.
Right, it's dark and dingy and it's quiet, but that's what they always are. So it's like, so it's like, I know that's going to sound hacky and like we're doing bad shtick and we're going for low-hanging fruit for a bit, but it's the truth. Like, I'm watching these shows. I enjoyed this show. This was great because it was like, it felt normal. Like in
exactly.
A weird way.
It didn't really feel all that out of the ordinary. The bad atmosphere didn't hit me upside the head. Like, okay, so full disclosure here. There was a big Noah show this week, and I pitched it to Rich as one of the topics. And I'm gonna make Rich the heel here and put the heat on him. He's like, I can't do Noah anymore. I need a break from Noah. The atmosphere is atrocious. I cannot do it. And it's like, I get it. Because the atmosphere at the Noah shows do stink.
Yeah, it bores me to tears. Because they're doing their normal show and their normal wrestling, but there's just nobody there. And it's just, it bores me to fucking tears.
With 25-minute matches. And, we talked about it last week. And Rich is like, I just can't. I need a break from Noah. Maybe next week we get back into it. Because, there was the big national title match that people are raving about. We'll talk about it, just not this week.
Yeah, we'll get to it eventually.
And Rich is just like, Joe, I cannot fucking do Noah. I need a break from the Noah. It's killing me because it's so goddamn dry, and I get it. But I watched these 0-1 and 2AW shows this week, and it didn't hit me. Look, I'd much rather have fans, but they didn't hit me in the same way. And the 0-1 show, I mean, the matches were all decent lengths. And I thought it was a nice, easy 2-hour watch. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was some kind of great show. But, the world title match, I came into it unspoiled. And I really liked it. I mean, it's not a notebook match or anything. It was a very simple story, right? Sato is just beating the shit out of Chris Weiss for the meat of this match. To the point where he's almost not even taking him seriously. He's emptying the barrels. Like, he's emptying his whole moveset. He's doing fucking Falcon Arrow slams and just beating the shit out of this guy. And then he gives him a German. And Weiss does the no-sell on the German, but not the full no-sell. Kind of like the Fighting Spirit no-sell, where he pops up and he gives Sato a running lariat, and then they both collapse. You know the spot I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So Weiss, he's getting killed. He gets hit with a German. He pops up. He gives the lariat. They're both selling. Then, shortly, and this was after a pile driver and everything. He's getting his shit kicked out of him. Shortly thereafter, Weiss makes a very short comeback and then wins the match and the title. And the way he sold the win, look on his face. Like, he couldn't believe he did it.
Right, yeah. People might attribute it to being very similar to a lot of the other, like, oh my god, I can't believe I got it. We always talk about it in WWE when, like, you know, Cedric Alexander gets a win and puts his hands on his head and goes, oh my god, I can't believe I did that. But, like, in this one, it was done in a good way. Because Koei Sato was just like, this I could beat the hell out of this guy. And it's like you said, he's playing around with him. He's just doing all of his moves. It's like he's wrestling against, you know, with Kotobushi's dummy. You know, just like trying different moves. And, hey, you know, I'll try this slam on him. Or I'll do this thing on him. You know, because he's just presenting no fight whatsoever. And then, yeah, in a few minutes, Koei Sato, you know, wears himself out by just doing too much shit, and Chris Weiss just fucking beats him and wins the title.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting that. But, you know, he beats Sato. And look, this was, you know, they weren't going for an epic. They told a very simple story here, and I thought it was effective, and I liked the match. And then, did you let it run after the match ended, or did you? I did,
yes. Yeah, I let it roll.
So you saw the angle. Hartley Jackson comes out. Now, he had just won the semi-main event over Tawa Iwasaki. Now, he came back to the company. Remember, we reviewed the show about a month ago, the anniversary show.
Yes.
Where Hartley Jackson made his big return to the company. So you knew he was going to get a push. So on this show, he wins in the semi-main event over, you know, an upper mid-card guy. And he wins a singles match. And that match was okay, too.
I liked it. I liked it a lot, actually. I thought Hartley was really, really good in it. And Tawa was solid, too. But, yeah, I really liked I thought Hartley was very, very good on that semi-main.
I thought the whole card was pretty good.
It was. Like, I love this show. I'm in on Zero-1, man. More Zero-1 for me.
It didn't knock my socks off, but it was a good little 2-hour watch. So Hartley Jackson wins the semi-main event, and he comes out to challenge Chris Weiss after the main event. So what you have here is just good, simple, logical booking. The guy comes back to the company during the anniversary show as a big surprise, works his way up the card, wins a big semi-main event match against a guy who gets some booking respect, and now he's the next challenger for the title. Rich, it's a nice little, well-booked, easy story, and I can't believe I'm going to sit here and say this, but I'm looking forward to Hartley Jackson versus Chris Weiss.
I can't wait. I know. I'm the same way. I was going to come on the show and say, Joe, I can't believe it, but I'm like frothing at the mouth waiting for Hartley Jackson, Chris Weiss to make tape. It's here we are, you know?
It just goes to show all we want is simple, well-booked stories that we can invest in. Look, they're not reinventing the fucking wheel here. This is a pro wrestling story that a million promotions have told a million times. And, you know, it's simple and it's effective. And now I'm interested in seeing Hartley Jackson challenge this guy for the title and see if he can go all the way in his return to 0-1 to the top and win this dopey little world title. Is that really too much?
Yeah, and we didn't need a guy in there explaining that this match is going to happen or a contract signing. Hartley just said, well, I beat someone in the semi-main event and you won the title, so let's go. Boom, done.
Yeah.
Like wrestling. It's how it's existed for years without a bunch of other fucking rigmarole. It's just two guys win, they fight each other in the next show. Nice and easy.
Yeah. So, what'd you think of Masato Tanaka and Yuji Hino beating the old fucks?
Dude, this match ruled. This match was great. I did like one thing I did note here. Yuji Hino doing his best Togi Makabe cosplay. This dude was in this match for 2 minutes. It was 17 minutes. I think Masato Tanaka wrestled 1540 of those 1740. Tagged to Yuji Hino. Yuji Hino does a few things and gets the pinfall. So good for him. So.
Yeah, he hit the fucking splash off the top or whatever. But
I forgot he was even in the match. I was thinking like, wait a minute, who's Tanaka teaming with? And I was like, oh yeah, Yuji Hino. And he gets in there and he charges for 2 minutes, gets the pinfall, it's over. And I was like, you know what? Good efficient work in there. But
was it the splash off the top or was it the power bomb?
I thought he did this. I think he did the power bomb, but I don't remember. I think he did the splash. I think he did both, but eventually finished him off with the power bomb. But
so. You know, they beat Shinjiro Otani and Takawa. Those are the two old fucks. But those, you know, it's a 0-1 show. You're usually going to get an old fuck tag. You know, and Masato Tanaka is still one of the best. I know I talked about him a little bit last week. He is still one of the best wrestlers in the world. This guy is just a fucking machine.
You would not be able to, if you didn't know anything about Masato Tanaka and I showed you that match, I don't know that you'd be able to tell me he is, you know, 50 approaching 50. You know what I mean? Like he works like he's like in his late 30s. You know what I mean? Like he's a little old. You can tell he's a little, you know, he's got some miles on him or whatever, but he's bouncing on. Like I said, he was in 15 minutes of this match. Otani and Takawa, they were tagging in and out and changing, and it was all Tanaka just taking it all, beating him up. And I don't know, it was a really, really good match. But yeah, Tanaka was just so fucking great in it.
He was in one of the best tags of the year earlier this year. And this was a hot little nonstop go tag match here. I love the Takashita match that I talked about last week. And if you listen to the DDT people, they'll tell you that the Takeshita match wasn't even his best match in DDT this year. So, and he supposedly just had a match in DDT this past week, which was better than the Takeshita match. So, I mean, Tanaka is still right there with anyone. And, you know, especially in a year where there's not a lot to watch and you're really paying attention closer to some stuff that you might not usually pay close attention to, it really stands out just how on top of his game. And look, the old guys here were very good, too.
They were really good. Yeah, Otani usually doesn't land for me. I thought he was fantastic in this match. He was really, really good.
Even Takao, both of them were very good here. You know, and this was the best match on the show, just from a bell-to-bell perspective, in my opinion. I enjoyed the main event, but it wasn't as good of a match as this tag match. But really the last four, because, you know, there were 6 matches on the show. And the other tag, which was Takuya Sagawara and Yasu Kubata losing to Sugi, and this Reicho guy, who I guess was presented as like a mystery partner because he had the black silhouette.
Right, it was an X. It was Sugi and X in this match. But yeah, I was hoping you could fill in the blanks here, but I guess you don't know much about Reicho either. So,
Rich, I don't know shit. You think I got 0-1 sources? So this Reicho comes out, and he's basically a bigger Sugi. He's got Sugi's gear on, the same mask, the same outfit, the same costume, but he's a little bit bigger, and he's doing Sugi spots too. Like he's basically, I don't know how to describe him, like a big brother kind of thing. It's like he's wearing the same gear, and you know, they win the match obviously, but I'm into that. I want to see these two guys as a tag team more. I want to see him mix it up with Tanaka. I want to see him mix it up with the old fucks, you know, so I think that Sugi really, and I talk about this a lot, but, you know, he signed with 0-1 2 years ago, and he really brings something different to the table for them. You know you're going to get your grimy old fucks, and you know you're going to get the 0-1 main events. Their world title scene to me has always been like, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but almost a dollar store version of the Big Japan strong title scene, right? The same style of workers.
Right. They're not going to blow you away with dynamic moves.
In a lot of cases, it's the same workers. It's like the same guys a lot of the time. You know, because Sekimoto drops in, Okabayashi drops in.
It's just those guys versus Kohei Sato, who's I think like a 6-time or 7-time champion. So it's like those guys facing Kohei Sato, basically.
So it's like the same style of matches that Big Japan gives you in their strong division, but they're never quite land as high. But that's what their main event scene is like. So you have like the strong, you know, Big Japan strong division style main events. You've got the old fucks usually in the semi-main event spot or peppered throughout the mid-card. And I thought Sugi, when he signed with the company, really brought a different dynamic to 0-1. There really weren't a lot of guys in the company like him. There's really not a lot of guys like him anywhere. I mean, you know, I love this guy. He's one of my favorite wrestlers over the last 15 to 20 years because he's just so different. Especially when he first hit the scene. He was
he's unbelievable.
Yeah, now there's a lot of guys like him, I guess, but he still does things that no one else can do.
Right, and I think what helps him in 0-1, like you're saying, is that like the stuff that he does, if he was on a card with Will Ospreay and you know, and Bushi, and he was just on a New Japan Junior, if Sugi just joined the New Japan Juniors, he'd kind of just like fit in, you know what I mean? Like he'd be interesting, he'd be fun, but he wouldn't. But on 0-1, it's like, holy shit, look at this guy, because you just watch, you know, 20 minutes of guys just like, you know, grunting in the middle of the ring or whatever, and then this dude does a fucking plancha and spins and you know, he's doing a backflip and this sort of, and like you see these little things and you're like, fuck yeah, he really jumps off the page in 0-1, like you're saying.
There's a lot of variety on their cards now, and I think his addition has really helped that. You know, there was a lot of questions whether he would last in a promotion after going through all that turmoil. But he's been there for like 3 years now. He's a mainstay. And they don't over push him, but they push him just enough. And he has a presence on these cards where he just brings something different to the table. And I thought the 2 opening match singles matches with Kubata beating Kitamura, and then it was Akoto Hidaka beating Yokoyama, were perfectly competent opening matches that didn't overstay their welcome. And, you know, it's not like, you know, they were good. And then the top 4 were all really good matches after that.
Yeah, nothing. I don't think anything on the card I didn't like. I thought everything was pretty good. The ones you were talking about, the first two, they're 8 minutes, 10-minute matches or whatever. They never overstayed their welcome. They were fine. You saw some little stuff out of both guys or all guys that were like, okay, yeah, good stuff. But yeah, it wasn't like though they didn't overstay their welcome. Pretty solid matches. Then yeah, the last 4 were all like very, very good matches. And when it was done, I was like, man, more 0-1 for me, man. 2 hours in and out. And 4 matches, an hour of really, really good wrestling, and then another hour of like, fine. Yeah, no, I was all in on this show. It was a really, really good show.
Yeah, so that was a really interesting show, and more importantly, it does have me as excited as I can be for a promotion like 0-1 to see their next title match and to see where they go with this tag team with Sugi and his kind of, I don't know who the guy is.
Yeah, I guess like I thought it was supposed to be an understudy, but it doesn't appear, like you said, he almost feels like the older brother. Like, bring my older brother back. Yeah, I don't know anything about him. So,
well, just because he's bigger, but it's hard to be smaller than. Sugi's like 5'3" or something. He's a tiny man, but it's just I don't know who he is. Like some guy off of this roster, or someone from the out, some indie sleazer. I don't know who the guy is,
yeah,
but I've always felt like putting a mask on someone in most cases instantly makes them more interesting. I don't know why more wrestlers who aren't really getting anywhere with their career don't opt for a mask.
Right. It's a fresh coat of paint and it gives you an opportunity to, no, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. If you're like just a jag, particularly a jag in Japan, right, who isn't getting anywhere, you're a mid-card guy in a going nowhere company like this one, you get a mask and a cool outfit, it just enhances your presentation so much. It's not a guarantee you're going to get pushed, but you're going to come off more interesting, especially if you mix up your moves a little, add in a flippy do. I don't know why more wrestlers don't opt for that, especially a lot of these indie scummers who have such bad looks. Rich, a lot of the aesthetics in these smaller Japanese companies is what really holds these promotions back to me. Because their rosters are loaded up with guys that just look like indie scummers, and it's just very off-putting. It's an aesthetic business. And I know you're a body guy now, so you agree. But it's like, give these guys some masks. Give them a little flair. They all have the same shitty haircut and the same bad gear. And it's like, when you have a dumpy-looking pasty body, that's a bad combination, And it's like, I don't know. I don't think masks are utilized enough. I don't know who the fuck this guy is who's teaming with him, but I guarantee you we thought nothing of him before. Now I want to see more of him because they got a cool little gimmick going with this tag team. So, I don't know, just a random thought.
No, you're absolutely right. Look at the top companies in Japan, the companies that have always sort of, made it to, the top of that industry. And yeah, it's like, Michinoku Pro, obviously, every one of those guys had their own personality with the masks and the gear and all that sort of stuff. And in New Japan, we talk about the gear and the hair is super important, and the facial hair and all that stuff tells its own story. And I think Dragon Gate's done a great job of that too. Everybody, you always know what who's in what unit by the colors they're wearing. You can always tell who's got the best. The gear is always top notch in Dragon Gate as well, and I think that really does stand out. And it's a little thing that I know it's a big investment for a lot of guys, but it really does go a long way in making you stand out. Like Sugi, yeah, like that's a guy who, yeah, if he was just a normal dude without the gear, like I don't know if he would stand out as much as he does, but he's got a really cool mask and a really cool gear, and he combines that with the great moves, and yeah, he stands out, and he's a guy that you'll always, he jumps off the page the second you see him. So yeah, no, I don't think anybody would disagree with you there that gear and look is important, but maybe somebody would. So.
But no, well, I think, but my whole thing is like I don't think enough guys. I think masks should be utilized more.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Because it could really cover up your lack of charisma. Some people just don't have charisma, or they just or they aren't expressive, and a mask can hide that. And if you don't have a good body, if you get a mask and a full body suit or a flashy looking costume, again, it's like cheating to gain some charisma. And I don't really understand why more guys don't do it, particularly a lot of these guys who you watch on some of these lower level Japanese shows and you just know their careers are going nowhere. It's just, and a lot of it is the way they look, and it's an aesthetic business, and it's a business where, you want to stand out, charisma matters, and, try something new, try something different. But, I just thought about that when I saw, Sugi's new partner.
Yeah.
That could very well be a guy who's just some fucking dude who.
Yeah, it could just be some indie scummer that's been around for 5 years and you would have never known, but yeah.
who's never made an impression on us, but now he's making an impression on us because, he's under a mask and he's doing flippy doos and he's got a cool gimmick now. So it just makes a big difference. Were you able to find out who he was or no?
I still can't figure out. Yeah, no one on the chat room seems to know either. So if you know who Right Show is, please let us know.
So 2AW. We've got the show from April 28th to catch up on. And then there was actually another show on May 10th. Rich, you saw neither of these?
I saw neither. Yeah, I haven't seen a match from any of these. But
and let's save May 10th because I did not see the top two on May 10th.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
So we've got the 428 show, and we'll talk about the top. Well, I skipped the second match because it was a three-way and it was intergender and it was a bunch of comedy, and I have no time for that bullshit. So I didn't watch the second match. The opener was Shu Asakawa versus Daiju Wakamatsu, and it was a lot like those two 0-1 openers, where it was a perfectly competent opening match that did not overstay its welcome between, some young wrestlers who, you could almost picture what the match was. They didn't overstay their welcome or try to do things they couldn't do. So we get into the meat of the card. We've got Kengo Mishimo and Kunio Toshima against Ayato Yoshida and Taylor Adams. Are you familiar with Taylor Adams?
The name sounds semi-familiar, but I don't know that I know much else about Taylor Adams.
I don't know how I feel about Taylor Adams. Bad look. Like purple hair, some multicolored tights, no tan. Not much of a body. We're body guys.
We're body guys now. No, you know what? No. I'm not gonna.
Are you finally admit you're a body guy, Rich?
I think I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm not ready 100% to admit that I'm a body guy, but I'm a body enthusiast. I appreciate a good body. I don't demand a good body. Does that make sense?
You're not fully committing to the body.
I'm not fully there yet, but
I'm gonna get you there. Anyway, Mishimo and Toshima win this, and it was a pretty damn good tag match, and it'll be significant for something we'll talk about at the end of the segment. Honestly, I thought everybody was very good here, even Adams. Adams was okay. Clearly, the person who surprised me here was Toshima. Toshima, in this particular match, was probably the best performer in the match, which I wasn't expecting. But this was a very good match. We had Tank Nagai defeating Dinosaur Takuma in a singles match. I like Tank Nagai. Dinosaur Takuma, I think it's time to ditch the gimmick. It's too comic book. It's too cartoonish. You cannot be taken seriously with a cartoon dinosaur tail. I think it was okay when he was a young wrestler on the come up because it got him some attention.
Right, but now we're at a point like, what's the next step in your career, dude? Like, are you just gonna be this forever? Then, then okay, I guess. But yeah, like it's getting a little long in the tooth for sure.
You'll never be a main eventer. You'll never be taken seriously wrestling in a dinosaur costume with a fucking cartoon tail. There's a way you can do a gimmick like that and have it work. The way that he's doing the gimmick, it's not going to work. It's a fine line. It's a little too cartoonish. So he's at a point in his career where I bet you he's about 6-7 years in. How many years has he been at it? Let me see if I can find this.
Yeah, I can get it for you real quick if you want to keep talking.
I'm guessing about 2014 is when he got started. And because he's been with Kai and Tai Dojo.
2015, November 2015 is his in-ring career.
He's probably pushing 30 at this point.
He's 27. He's 27 right now.
Okay. All right. Listen, an adjustment. You could even call yourself Dinosaur Takuma. You could even keep a dinosaur gimmick. The big fucking
comical tail. Yeah.
The big plush fucking dinosaur tail has to go. And that's what I'm thinking about watching this, because I'm watching him wrestle Tank Nagai, and they're very similar in size and style. One guy I take seriously, the other guy I take as a joke, So, I don't know. It was effective to get him noticed. I mean, I remember him forever from when he was a young wrestler, whereas there's probably young wrestlers that have come through Kai and Tai Dojo with no gimmick that I don't remember. So from that perspective, it worked for him, but it's time to move away from it. I think.
Yeah, right.
So this is the match I really wanted to dig into, was Chango and Kaiji Tomato. We reviewed their last, I think, the match where they won the titles. They defended here against Kotaro Yoshino and Tatsuya Hanami. Rich, notebook material, man. You got to go watch this. This was excellent. And I came away from this match thinking that in a really weird year, Chango and Kaiji Tomato are easily one of the 5 best tag teams in the world from what I've seen from them their last 2 matches. We praised their last match. Their last match was very good. I thought this match was better. I thought this was better than their previous match.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
I enjoyed it because I feel like it had a better structure. I thought it was a little too long. I thought a lot like the Money in the Bank opening match, opening card 4-way or whatever. They missed the peak a little in this bout, but I won't give away too much. I think you're gonna. I think you really should watch it.
You piqued my interest. Yeah, I'll definitely check that one out.
Because also where we're going here, you're gonna want to watch it. I'll tell you in a second. First, I'll talk about the main event. Yuji Okabayashi successfully defends the title against Taishi Takazawa. This was pretty good. I preferred the tag match, but this was okay. It won't blow you away. I would say that if you're going to go back and watch this show, I would watch the last 4 matches. Same as the 0-1 show. I would go back and watch all 4 matches. Now, the reason is because on the 5/10 2AW show, and this is a 2AW podcast now, okay? I don't make the rules. These rules make themselves, okay? The tag title match main event was Chango and Kaiji Tomato defending against Kengo Mishimo and Kunio Toshima, who beat Yoshida and Taylor Adams on the 428 show. Again, simple, effective booking. A tag team wins a big match on one show. They're the number 1 contenders for the tag team titles on the next show. It's all I need out of my wrestling, Rich. They keep it simple. So, again, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm really looking forward to that match because I thought Kengo Mishimo and particularly Kunio Toshima in particular were very impressive as a tag team on the 428 show. So I'm looking forward to them mixing it up with Chango and Kaiji Tomato, who are the biggest surprise of the year to me. I really believe I cannot think of 5 tag teams that have had a better year than them. Definitely Hangman and Omega. Who else? Anyone in WWE? Early in the year, Undisputed Era had a bunch of good tag team matches in WWE.
Right. Yeah.
New Japan didn't run long enough for any of the tag teams to really make a big impression. And then you think about the smaller companies. There have been some good tag team title bouts. All Japan, Suwama and Ishikawa, just had that excellent match with Yoshitatsu and Jun Akiyama. There's probably some others I'm forgetting. But I'm confident in my opinion that Chango and Kaiji Tomato of all teams are at minimum a top 5 tag team this year, maybe higher if I really looked at it. I could be forgetting stuff from January and February, which would change my opinion in terms of
which is fair because those were 27 months ago. So,
but in terms of the empty arena COVID stuff, they, both matches I've seen out of them were great.
Yeah, they've been killing it.
So, not great in the sense that they're match of the years, but so I'm really looking forward to them defending the titles against Kengo Mishimo and Kunio Toshima.
Yeah, you got to take what you can get. You got to take what you can get these days. So yes, this is a rare year where a Kaiji Tomato team might be the best tag team in the world. But hey, that's fine. Let's open our eyes. Maybe they were. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, we're watching stuff we wouldn't normally have watched. So that's good. That's why I've kind of weirdly enjoyed this downtime.
Oh, and I want to talk quickly about Tatsuya Hanami because he was one of the guys who lost to Chango and Tomato on the 428 show. He teamed with Kotaro Yoshino. He's just a chunky guy. He's typical low-level Japanese promotion kind of. I have no use for him. But this Tatsuya Hanami, I don't recall seeing him before. Maybe I did, and he just never made an impression. But he's a young boy, I believe, in their system, Hanami. And he was really the highlight of that match. I think I looked him up when I was watching the match. I think he's like 23. And he's got maybe 1 or 2 years in with 2AW. He may have been a Kaientai guy. I don't remember. But he's one of their young boys. He still wrestles in the black tights and everything. But this Tatsuya Hanami, I thought, was really the standout of his team in that match against Chango and Tomato. And then I watched some of the May 10th show, and he worked the opener against Shuma, who's another young wrestler. And this Hanami I'm attaching myself to this guy right now. Great fire. His work for a 23-year-old with 2 years in the business. I mean, he not only was able to hang in that semi-main event with those veteran guys, but, he held up his end, more than admirably. And I just see a spark in him. He just has something that jumps off the screen that you don't often see in some of these smaller promotions with some of these younger wrestlers. So that's a name I would recommend to remember, Tatsuya Hanami. I would strongly recommend that tag match against Chango and Tomato, and keep an eye on him in that match. And then I thought he was very impressive as well in the short opener that he worked on May 10th. So I wanted to mention him too. But I think the May 10th show we'll save for another show. Because I haven't even watched the whole thing yet. I haven't watched the top 2 matches. But I wanted to make sure I put over Hanami too, because I really enjoyed his work on both of the shows. So this is now a 2AW podcast. We are not a deathmatch podcast anymore.
We have pivoted away from the deathmatch, unfortunately.
This is no longer a deathmatch podcast. This is now a 2AW/Zero-1 podcast. So
I don't hate it. I don't hate the transition. It's been a lot of fun. Real quickly before we get out of here, we only got a few minutes here. King of Gates, Dragon Gate's King of Gate tournament, as I said, is starting tomorrow. We're recording this on the 14th. It starts the 15th on Dragon Gate Network. Now, if you haven't subscribed to Dragon Gate Network before and you're thinking about doing it, it's a pretty terrible streaming service in a lot of ways. The video quality is good. The video quality is very good. I have no issues with that. But stuff comes on and then it goes away after 7 days and then it doesn't come back for months. It's a little weird. So if you're thinking about following this tournament, have a good idea of what matches you want to see, when you want to see them, when they're happening, because you're going to want to watch everything pretty much a day or two after it happens, because weirdly stuff disappears, and if you wait too long, you'll miss out on it. So it's also very clunky to try to get on and try to sign up or whatever. But once you eventually get it, I think it's a pretty good service, and it does have a lot of stuff, and I know they've been uploading a lot of old content as well. Just a little bit of a warning that, hey, if you want to subscribe now and then say, hey, I'll watch all the King of Gate in 2 weeks, like, don't do that, because it'll all be gone by the time you do that, because it's very weird with what they decide to do. But this looks like a pretty fun tournament, and Joe, it's a tournament with stakes. We got 24 wrestlers vying for the King of Gate this year. Single elimination tournament. All empty arenas, of course, and all this was on tape delay, so they recorded these over the last few weeks or the last week or whatever. But what are your overall thoughts of the King of Gate tournament before we kind of run down these brackets?
The one company in the world where I never even attempt to predict the booking is Dragon Gate.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it could be KZ, it could be Jason Lee. I don't know.
I'm not even gonna pretend to attempt. I mean, I've for years I've followed Dragon Gate and watched Dragon Gate and enjoyed Dragon Gate, and I just the booking is always, for the major promotions, the hardest for me to ever work out. I feel like I have a decent handle on New Japan and AEW. Now that you're starting to see their booking patterns, I've got a decent handle on them. And even places like All Japan, Big Japan, just pick whatever the worst decision is, and that's what they're going to do. Even WWE, I mean, it's as hard as they are to work out because there's no logic. I'd be more confident trying to predict the booking in WWE than I would Dragon Gate. For whatever reason, I've just always struggled with it, and I'm not going to attempt it here. So I don't have a predicted winner for you. I have no clue.
Yeah, that's fine. And that's one thing that Dragon Gate does well in that sense is that, like, it never feels like they're just picking a guy at random. It's always like they have and we've talked about it before in many, many shows prior, is that Dragon Gate does such a great job of keeping everybody at a pretty decent enough level that you can justify just about any of these people winning this tournament and it going over fine and being a good idea. So that's a testament to their booking in a lot of ways. And that's why it's very different. Like you said, you have no clue. It could be Yamato, it could be BB Hulk, it could be Jason Lee, it could be Strong Machine J. No clue, but they do a good job of keeping that pretty open. But it's a loaded tournament, man. Dragon Gate's got a fun little roster here. You got Hayo and KZ is one of your first round matchups. They will face the winner of Yamato and Ryo Saito. You got Dragon Kid and Diamante versus the winners of Yusuke Santa Maria and Susumu. Kaito Ishida, Jason Lee, they'll face the winner of BB Hulk and Keisuke Okuda. Genki Horiguchi and Kai will face the winner of Big R Shimizu and Naruki Doi, the champion right now in Dragon Gate. Kagetora and Ben K versus the winner of Strong Machine J and Eita. So that's
who's Ben K's opponent?
Kagetora.
Okay, so Ben K is going to win that, and then it's super strong. It's Strong Machine J and who?
Eita.
Okay, keep an eye on that little piece of the bracket.
I was going to say Ben K and Strong Machine J will be pretty fun if that's where they go.
Well, because they had that match right after Ben K lost the title, and I think they went to a 15-minute draw, if I'm not mistaken. So there's kind of unfinished business there, and that's kind of the thing. I just got done telling you I can never work out Dragon.
There you go. But sometimes you get it. Sometimes it clicks.
But you're reading these matchups off, and none of it is making any kind of. You're reading names out of a phone book. But then when you got to that, it froze me. I'm like, wait a minute. That kind of I feel like they're going to win and face each other in the next round.
Yeah. Because
the whole thing there with Ben K is he was coming off losing the title, and it's like he's slumping, right? So he wrestles to a draw with the guy, and they're close to the same generation. I know Ben K was a couple years earlier, so I feel like that's going to be a second round match.
Yeah, I would agree. Kazuma Sakamoto and Mochizuki, and they will face the winner of Dragon Dia and Yoshida. So pretty fun. Yeah, there's some pretty cool matchups, that you have. I mean, off the top of my head, you got Yamato, who's probably going to make a pretty long run. He's in kind of his own little class at the top of the bracket. Susumu, I mean, obviously anybody that he's in the ring there with, you get pretty good stuff. There, BB Hulk's kind of got a new coat of paint on his career. I'm never a huge BB Hulk fan. He's a little washed at this point, but I'd imagine he goes pretty far. And then Naruki Doi is the champion in this tournament as well. You'd imagine he goes pretty far, and that whoever does eventually beat him, if he doesn't win the tournament, they have a future title shot coming as well.
Well, Dragon Dia is having a very good year. He has been impressive in all of his matches. What was I going to say? The thing about I've lost my train of thought. I was going to say something about Dragon Dia. He's having a good year. Keep an eye on him, even if he doesn't advance. Oh, Susumu Yokozuka is a guy who I think is probably one of the 20 best wrestlers in the world this year without having a 4-star match. He's just, every match he gets in there, it's a professional performance.
Yeah, he's reliable as fuck. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the All Japan stuff with Akira Francesca in particular, and he earlier this year he was so good. All his Dragon Gate matches, he's you put him in a Dragon Gate tag or 6-man tag, and he's generally the glue that holds everything together. He's having a notable year without having like a notable match,
right? Which is kind of the rub always for. I mean, Susumu will sometimes he'll pop a few matches here and there, but he's like the most like reliable as fuck guy in the world. He's unbelievable. He's just his baseline is just always good, like always great.
Yeah, and he won't have a match that cracks the top 30 for match of the year, but he's still, every time I watch him wrestle, I'm like, man, that guy's a pro's pro.
Yeah,
that Akira match is just. There's 2 matches this year where I'm just blown away by the participants, even though they're not like match of the year contenders. There's that match with Susumu, who had literally the perfect match with Akira Francesca. I mean, it was just a perfect match with the good Italian boy. And the other match was the Lance Archer Colt Cabana match on Dynamite a few weeks ago in the title tournament, where they told the perfect story for that match. And it was just 2 pros out there having a professional match that just, they both were just perfect in their roles. They told the perfect story. Archer looked dominant without squashing Cabana, which is so hard to do. Cabana got just enough to where it didn't hurt Archer's aura or stop his momentum, and Archer still came across looking dominant as fuck without totally destroying Cabana. That's such a tricky balance. But what you had were 2 guys in their 40s who've been doing this forever, a combined almost 50 years probably between the 2 of them, or at least over 40 years, right? I mean, or close to it. And, they just knew how to go out there and work that match and have and that's why I am anti-star rating sometimes. Like, to me, that's a 5-star match because it was perfect. But you can't put 5 stars on that because the star scale is based on main event.
Yes, the spectacular. Yeah, the spectacular, not the, that match did exactly what it needed to do. It was perfect for the moment.
Yeah, but the scale is scaled towards main event epics being what is 5 stars.
Yeah.
But it's like those 2 matches for me this year are 2 of my favorite matches of the year because the participants were just so damn good. And I don't want to downplay Akira in his match against Susumu because he played his role of perfection too. But clearly it was Susumu pulling the strings in that match and going in there with this young kid and knowing exactly what he needed to do to get the perfect match out of that kid and advance that kid's story. Because Akira was the story there and his advancements and all of that, more so than Susumu, who's going to, lose that title later on and then, never come back to the company. He's an outside. He's going to go back to Dragon Gate and whatever the fuck. And he knew, how to work that match to perfect, and he did. So, Susumu is just a joy to watch, and I don't know if he'll go far in this thing or lose in the first round, but he's a guy where I will never skip his matches.
So that is the King of Gate tournament. I am planning on watching it because I got nothing else to do, so I will planning on watching most of that. So I'm sure we'll be talking about it in the coming weeks because we, of course, in between our 2AW and 0-1 discussions, I'm sure we'll talk some Dragon Gate.
Yes, this is a 2AW and 0-1 podcast. In fact, we may just lead off with that 510 2AW show.
We might. There's no rules anymore, man.
We'll
get to Double or Nothing. Don't worry. We'll preview Double or Nothing eventually, but we got to talk about this 2AW show first.
Double or Nothing, hour 3.
Yeah, active advanced wrestling, baby. Let's go.
I got a Chango and Kaiji Tomato big title defense to talk about here. Okay? Double or Nothing can wait. But, we'll have the Double or Nothing preview next week. The Double or Nothing review the week after that. It doesn't stop. And Japan's just picking up.
Yeah, we got a 24-person tournament that's starting tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, you think we're going to stop? You think we don't have content? Get out of here.
And Rich blew off the Noah.
Yeah.
We got the Noah. There's all kinds of shit to talk about. If I get real desperate, I'll slap on the DDT. Who knows? But, it never stopped. 2 months ago, Rich was like, sending me messages. Joe, we're going to have to recommend matches to each other every week. You got to think of some matches. We got to do the Joe and Rich recommend matches. Got to do some old content. And then, here we are 9 weeks later, and we're pushing.
There's too much. Yeah, there's too much. We're over 3 hours at this point. Yeah.
We're still pushing things to next week, 9 weeks into this. So, anyway, wrap it up, Rich.
Yeah, that's it. So, anyway, that's then the Voices of Wrestling Flagship podcast. Of course, voiceswrestling.com/Patreon if you want to hear more of Joe and I. November to Remember, you had one of those last week. The In Your House series is going on right now. I'm doing going back and looking at all the In Your House main events in history, so it's a lot of fun there. The Q&As, we've been doing some call-in Q&As. Those have been really, really fun. We also have Joe's TV reviews. You have all the good stuff. Your written content as well. All that is at voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon. Tiers for every price budget as well. $1, $5, and $10 tiers. Also, voicesofwrestling.com for all the other stuff that we do on the website. All of our previews, reviews, and columns. We had some really good columns as of late as well on the site. Case Lowe did 2 columns on Kenta Kobashi and the best matches of Kenta Kobashi's career, as well as the best matches of Jumbo Tsuruda's career as well. So those are must-reads. John Hernandez did a great one about Necro Butcher and Homicide. So it's not stopping, man. If you think all these other websites are oh my God, what are we going to do for content? We're good. We got plenty here. VoicesOfWrestling.com, Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network, and of course, Voice of Wrestling on Patreon, voiceofwrestling.com/Patreon. So for Jesus Christ, for Joe Lanza, I'm Rich Craich. We'll talk to you guys next time on the Voice of Wrestling Flagship Podcast. Take care. All right, there we go. Could you make more noise, please? Oh, you have your headphones on. You can't notice. I said, could you make more noise if possible?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have the headphones on.
Yeah, I could tell.
Here.
Yeah, could you clang more things together? I don't know if anybody heard it, but...
Okay, I just started doing it in the last 5 minutes. Before, I know I was being a good girl because I was busy out there.
Okay.
I was taking Instagram photos of the flower right now.
Oh, of course. Yeah, all right. You're fine. Joe, did you hear anything?
I heard random banging now and then, but it wasn't that distracting. I mean, I got to be honest.
He didn't even cover for you. He said I heard random banging now and then. But it wasn't that distracting.
Fuck you, Joe.
I was defending her.
I know.
I was defending her.
He's now mad that...
Joe, you could have just said no. Bruh.
I was defending her. I think Rich is making a mountain out of a molehill here, but geez, I'm getting, I'll say what TLB says to me. Why are you cussing at me? There's no reason to cuss at me. I don't understand this hostility.
Wow.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Michelle?
You know what? I'm not going to tell him what TLB stands for in my world.
Oh, yeah, it's a long joke. You won't get that joke. It's fine.
A little too inside for Lanza. A little too inside.
It's a punk band. It's like a Chicago punk rock band.
So my friend's girlfriend broke up with him, and she was a bitch. So they named the They named the band That Lying Bitch, and they go by TLB.
Ah, very inside, I see. Very
Right.
inside.
They're quite popular in the Chicago metro area.
They're
so
not that popular. We went to one of their shows. There
They
was
have,
6
like,
people there.
10 to 12 people at their shows.
Yeah, that's right. Let this man go. He's been talking to me for.
All
He's
right,
probably got to
Joe.
pee. All right.
Well, he wasn't talking to me.
No, I'm upset because I was defending you, and
You weren't defending me. I was told what you said.
No, I left out like very important details of it.
To be fair,
He said I heard some clanging, but it did distract me, and all I told you was he heard some clanging.
I was busy making eucalyptus arrangements so that our house can be beautiful for you. I'm so fucking sorry.
it was very obvious that Rich was very annoyed by the clanging. Like you could tell that he was thrown off by the clanging.
Well,
The most recent clangs were very bad.
He should be less like an only child and learn to suck it up and deal with distractions.
I'm doing a podcast here with.
Oh, well, there's a lot of people working from home right now doing podcasts and media things with their family in their homes, so you're not the only one.
Yeah, but we run a professional operation here.
Yeah, so does MSNBC.
No, well, not like us.
You know what? People distract me.
Anyway, have a good one, Joe.
All right, man. Later.
I gotta make dinner. All right, see you later.
But I made these photos.
Thank you. No, whatever you were doing the last like 2 minutes, you were just like clanging and
Oh,
banging
I'm sorry,
everything.
because I had this on.
I know, and then I look and you got your little headphones on. I'm like, oh my god. Very nice. Very nice.
That looks profesh.
That does look profesh.
You're like, wait, is that Michelle's house? Shit.
Yeah, that does look
The
professional.
lighting, the eucalyptus, the arrangements.